Day number 4 of the PMCO EU Wildcard Finals for the 2021 fall split. It all comes down to this. We've got 2 teams fighting for that all-elusive singular PMPL spot. 4 Romanian boys and Noisy Boys. They took us on a hell of a journey, and it's going to end here today. My name is Imperium with Professor Zute to bring you through all the action. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. I'm feeling excited, and today it's the 4th day, but it is also the final and last day. This is every day from day 1 to 2 to 3. We've seen these teams ramp it up. Like day 2, I thought I couldn't get any better, but day 3, it just got better, and day 4. I'm expecting the same. I'm super excited. I even put on a button-up shirt, which I never do.
I know, man. Looking dapper.
The occasion calls for it. The occasion calls for it. I'm so excited.
Definitely. Let's go through the formalities. We know we have to go through it. I know, but we have to go through it. Let's go through the format. I think it's a good thing to highlight the format graphics of how we started, how we got here, seen as it is the last day, right? 32 teams it began in this PMCO. It's been slowly whittled down.
Yeah, I personally can't believe all of this has happened over the course of just 2 weeks. I feel like I've been following these teams' story for like at least a month or two. Like the roller coaster ride that is the PMCO EU wildcard. Like if you didn't tune in from the beginning, that's all right. You're about to be here for the big finale. But man, the storylines that have developed, we started with 32 teams down to the 16 that will be competing today. And soon enough, we're going to see that one team at the very top, the first place team. We'll get to see their story continue on in the PMPL.
Unmute my mic there. You're dead right. Yeah, that all-elusive 1 PMPL spot. It's going to be absolutely wonderful. Let's move on to the points and how these teams secure the points required to get to that spot. 15 points for first. You whittle down, and that all-important 1 point per kill.
Mm-hmm. That the kill point is really going to come into today, because we touched on it slightly yesterday, how the Noisy Boys, even though they're second place, right, a chicken dinner alone isn't going to be enough. They need to get the kills and the chicken dinner that comes with the extra kills when you get the chicken dinner. It's the point gap. So that 1 kill per point is definitely going to play into effect today. And moving on, we got the prize. Oh, there we go. Imperium. Come on, man.
I'm throwing. What can I say? I'm throwing
right now.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. My mic's like, yeah, you know what? I don't want any of this. Let's move on to the prize pool graphic. It's relatively important, but it's not really the focus of the day. $4,000 for first, moving down. It will come into effect, as we've already mentioned, on the teams in the middle of the pack. Jump from, let's say, 8th to 4th, or get an extra 300 plus for your team. Won't argue with it. But other than that, it's there for the taking.
Yeah, the prize pool, it's there. At this point, everybody is just maybe thinking about how they should spend that money. But we still got 2 teams that's thinking about the money. And like I said, the coveted PMPL spot, that first place spot. But let's take it on into the schedule. We got 4 games today. We got 4 maps to be played today.
Yeah.
Erangel, Sanhok, Miramar, Erangel. I liked how you highlighted the other day, like the map order. It's always been the same, but it's particularly the map in specific that really affects a team's performance. Yesterday, you told me the Noisy Boys averaged 7 points a game on Miramar. That it was their toughest map to do well on.
Yeah.
Yesterday on Miramar, they got that chicken dinner and kills, and they had one of the hardest Miramar games I've ever seen, and they still took it out. So it is so good to see every team step up and be in tip-top form, that regardless of the map, like the performance is there for those two teams, the Noisy Boys
Exactly.
and the 4 Romanian Boys.
Like 9 times out of 10 when we highlight statistics or numbers about teams, it is just there to add to a level of speculation or add context, whether it's in a good way or a bad way. And the Noisy Boys moved their average points per game of Miramar from 6.5 to 17. Their strongest map is Erangel. They've got 24 points per map on Erangel compared to 4 Romanian Boys 18. So to add to that kind of speculation with 2 Erangels in play, it is really important that they try and back what has been a fantastic map performance with stronger results, or as strong results. Their weakness, ironically, is Sanhok, which I find surprising because, again, their roster is made up of players who in their previous teams looked very good in Sanhok, but they do have a good 11 point per game deficit average compared to 4 Romanian Boys. Again, it is pure speculation. We can mention it, we can highlight it, but it's up to up to these two teams on every single map to just give it their all.
Definitely. And today is the final day to do it in the circles. I don't think we've seen like the same circles happen twice yet. We've had similar circles, but we've seen very different. So yesterday we saw circles that have never happened yet throughout the whole entirety of PMCO.
Exactly.
Happen. So it's like the map, yes, it's the same 4 maps, but the way the circles play out can change the entirety of the game. And once again, adaptability. How good are these teams able to adapt to different situations? That's what's going to really be the deciding factor for today.
Let's go to a quick break from our sponsor, Xiaomi. Then when we come back, we'll break down these teams a little bit more heavily and really start to set the sights on what's to come today. And we're back. Told you it was going to be a quick ad. Now let's get into the bigger specifics. First, let's go through the participating teams of the PMCO finals. Yes, the focus is on 4 Romanian Boys and the Noisy Boys, but I do want to give a lot of love to every single one of these teams. Every single one of these teams. Whether they have players who are new to PMCO, whether they're veterans of the PUBG Mobile competitive ecosystem, so much love, because I know a lot of work goes into it, a lot of work, a lot of preparation, and they all had the sightlines of pretty much getting to either the finals or the PMPL slot. So really big love, big respect, and it is a genuine honor to be part of your journey in this PMCO.
100% agree with that. Viewers and competitors themselves even often forget, once they reach a certain stage, even if they place in the bottom half or even if they're last place, they need to remember they beat out so many other teams just to get to here. Yeah. And I know you'll always get the haters. I've experienced it myself. You know, we make it all the way to BMGC. We don't qualify into the finals. And trust me, I myself and the people watching all feel like, man, we suck. But you got to remember, keep in mind, the countless other teams that these teams had to fight over, to fight against to get to this spot. So everybody here, I think they've done a very good job, and it is an honor to be able to cast you guys in the finals right now.
Yeah, couldn't have said that better myself. And I know that you get that as a former competitive player yourself, of how much work, how much blood, how much sweat really goes into grinding, improving, and getting better, whatever stage it's at. So big props indeed. Let's move into the overall standings, because this is where it really starts to shape up We've had 3 days of finals, 12 games underneath our belts. We've got 4 more games to go. You'll see on the overall standings, it's coming down to 4 Romanian boys and the Noisy Boys. It is a good lead at the moment, but at the end of the day, the Noisy Boys yesterday got 85 points to keep themselves in with the running for taking that first place.
The Noisy Boys and 4 Romanian Boys, the point separation is still there, regardless of how big of a day the Noisy Boys had yesterday. The 4 Romanian Boys kept the pace up, which is I don't
true.
think I've seen that happen before. Usually, if a team is second and they got how many points yesterday? Like 85, you said? In
85, yeah, 85.
Yeah, 85 points. You would think with a team getting 85 points in a day, they have closed the gap, if not passed up the team they were trying to chase. But instead, what we saw yesterday was 4 Romanian Boys. They kept pace with that like 85 point day that the Noisy Boys had. So today, man, the Noisy Boys, they have to do it again, and then also hope that the 4 Romanian Boys falter.
Yeah, 73 points for Romanian Boys got yesterday, so definitely wasn't a bad day for them, to say the least. And again, we talked about it yesterday a little bit, and I think it's an important aspect to bring on board once again today is the potential of the Noisy Boys dropping on 4 Romanian Boys to take them out early on, to try to maximize the amount of points that they can close on the 4 Romanian Boys. Like, I talked about how we've seen it in the past. A potential of what could have been seen today was even the BGMI Sky Esports final day, where 7Cs were about 30 points behind. No, sorry, 28 points behind Godlike with 1 game to go. And I put a story out there that the only way they were going to take down Godlike was if they hot dropped on them, took them out, and then got the relevant amount of points needed to overtake them. Because you just, in my eyes, the Noisy Boys can't rely on 4 Romanian Boys having a bad day. The statistics speaks for itself. 4 Romanian Boys have had a 68 point day, a 84 point day, and it was a 62 point day, not a 73 point. It was a 62 point day. Like, that level of performance over 3 days of finals, you can't rely on your opponents having a bad day. Because even if they had a bad day, it's probably going to be 30, 40 points, which makes your job even harder.
Yeah, it's an uphill battle for sure. Now, we have 4 matches today. I would say for the Noisy Boys, the first game, they should play regular. Maybe 4 Romanian Boys will have an off start, right? But if after the first game, 4 Romanian Boys do well, or the Noisy Boys, flop, then it's like, okay, game 2, game 3, and game 4, you're dropping on them. You're trying to take them out, and then you're also trying to win the game and catch up on points. But the first game, I don't expect the Noisy Boys to just immediately drop on them, because who knows, right? The first game, everybody's kind of warming up, so to say, once again. But moving on from the Noisy Boys and 4 Romanian Boys, I want to give a shout out to Rexpect, the Mega Power team, and I believe, FTY. Yesterday, on the very last game of the day, we saw those 3 teams completely just change up like 180, along with the Noisy Boys. They completely changed up how they were playing. They were being proactive, and they were taking the fight to other enemy teams rather than waiting for the fight to break out. They aggressively went and looked for those engagements, and what do you know? They took the other teams out. Like, coming into today, I want to see a lot more other teams kind of flip that mindset, flip that switch, and just be like, we are better than these other teams. Why do we keep waiting around for them to make a mistake rather than us forcing the mistake onto them? right? So I think today is also going to be
Yeah,
an exciting day, not just for the Noisy Boys and for Romanian Boys, but some of these other teams. I'm looking for them to flip that switch and just have a completely different approach to the games. And let's move on to the second page where we do see one of the teams that I mentioned, right? Mega Power. They were last place at like day one and maybe day two. Coming into day two, they were potentially last place, but they had
yeah.
one really good game yesterday on the final game of the day, and they just shot up in the rankings. And it's a shame that we didn't see the same Mega Power at the very start of the
Definitely.
finals. We saw that Mega Power in the group stage, but I don't know what happened from the group stage to the finals. But it looks like they're flipping their switch back up again. So I have an eye out for Mega Power to see what they could do in the lobby.
Yeah, very true indeed. And yeah, the variables of the teams down in the bottom, again, we highlighted it yesterday, but because it's the last day, it's just ramped up even higher. The weight of them getting into the mix, they have nothing to lose. Okay, a little bit of extra prize money incentive, but when you're in that game as a player, I would very highly doubt, and you can maybe confirm or deny, that the last thing they're thinking of is the amount of money they can get. All they're thinking of is possibly, well, we can just try our best. We can go in hard, push ourselves, nothing to lose. We can treat it technically as a scrim, but in like the best kind of scrim, right?
Yeah.
So to me, the teams down at the bottom, QILIN, ENTROPIQ, Mega Power, La Familia, they can have an impact. And that could be the reason why for Romanian Boys or the Noisy Boys, they don't make the PMPL slot.
Yeah, it could happen where the four Romanian boys, they end up getting it into engagement with one of these teams. On a typical day in the past 3 days, those teams kind of just roll over or they run away or they try and,
That's
just
true.
avoid. But today, any team fight between any two teams could be massive casualties for one team because the teams today should be going all out. They shouldn't even worry about what they're comfortable doing, such as like running away, taking easier fights. They should just be
Yeah,
fighting till the end. And it could greatly affect the performance of the Noisy Boys and the four Romanian boys today.
110%. Like in day two, on as an example, that Miramar game, and four Romanian Boys are essentially kind of steamrolling on teams up in the hill and third partying and just really gaining control. That might not be the case in today's Miramar game, as an example, right? Teams will be able to go, well, we've got nothing to lose. Let's just fight back, take a player down. It hurts four Romanian Boys. What doesn't hurt four Romanian Boys is playing on a Xiaomi phone. You can enjoy a super fast and lag-free PUBG Mobile experience on Xiaomi's powerful Redmi Note 10 5G, the wonderful sponsors of the PMCO 2021 EU Wildcard. Final day, the first game of the day. What team do you think is going to really come, not out of the two teams that we're really highlighting, which team do you think can have that big bang in game one? You can name a couple of teams if you want.
Mega Power. After what I saw they did yesterday, I think they have a better idea of what they've been doing wrong. And I'm hoping in the first match, they flip that switch and keep it going.
I'm going to go based on statistics. The Noisy Boys. The first game of the last 2 days, they've gotten 30 points each time. 31 and 35. I'm going to go with the easy call. You did it yesterday. I'm doing it today. Let's head into a playing path. Let's head into game one of the final day of the finals.
Oh boy, here we are, Imperium, the final day of the finals. The first match, but the first match of the very last day. This first match is more important than any other first match on any other day we've seen in this playing path. Looking pretty normal. I think the teams should be fine to all get to where they want. One quick thing to note, though, for Romanian Boys, they split drop Gatka. It's right on playing path. But that also means if a team is looking to target them on the very first game today, this would be a very easy chance and opportunity to drop right on them. We already know how they split.
Oh,
We've seen
wow.
multiple times what their split drop is. So let's just watch this one out. And the Noisy Boys way up in the northeast there.
Yeah. Now, to me, that's a pretty safe of a drop. We haven't seen the Noisy Boys pull it off so far in the PMCO, but it does make sense to a secondary drop in comparison to military base.
Yeah.
And to me, a military base drop from that plane path is kind of risky considering new generation drops by ferry pier. Sorry for Skill have been known to drop onto the western coastline in a military base. So for the comfort of keeping yourself up as a full squad in the early parts of the game, I really commend the Noisy Boys on having that secondary drop spot on board.
I 100% agree. We usually always see the plane path start from the south, so we've seen them drop first out of the plane every time onto military base. So this is a good adaptation. They had a plan in mind, but something else I'm noticing with 4 Romanian Boys that I don't think we've seen yet this entire tournament. I don't know if it's because they've done their research and noticed Watertown has always been empty, or if it's a mix of that and the plane path, but they have a 2-2 split. It doesn't look that, important or anything, but to me, for a first place team that's been doing really well, doing the same thing over and over, but yet still confident to pull out something different on the very last day, those guys are feeling confident today. They have a game plan. They're not second guessing themselves when it comes to having to make a call that hasn't been done before.
Well, see, here's the thing. That kind of adjustment to their normalized drop spot isn't too far away where their pathing into the circle is massively affected, but it is off enough where they're moving away from a potential team dropping on them, right? So, to me, that's just clever thinking and clever thought process and clever preparation for 4 Romanian Boys, right? And I absolutely love it. As it happens, as phase 1 has popped up and we have that kind of northern phase 1, it puts them automatically in a great spot at the start of the game.
Watertown's basically dead center of the zone. I'm willing to guess for the first position, 4 Romanian Boys will do a 2-2 a little bit south of Watertown. There's that gigantic, just weird mountain hill. I used to call it Third Ridge, but it's that mountain with a lot of deep cuts of inlet. They could easily two-man that for the first circle.
Headshot Hills. That's what it's called.
Tetra Hills.
If that's what... No, Headshot Hills. Headshot Hills.
Oh, Headshot Hills. Okay. All right. Yeah, the Headshot Hills, and then to the west of those Headshot Hills, you have those one-story buildings, right? Which doesn't look like it's that strong, but it's got really good lines of sight everywhere. So I won't be too surprised to see 4 Romanian Boys play a 2-2 for the first circle, especially since they're center already and can easily pressure teams away.
Oh, Rejection Gaming, XTEAM, Apartments Battle, starting off. Reminds me of a game of classic, always difficult fighting up the stairs of a building, but XTEAM, they do a good job of using that 2-man advantage, moving up at the same time. Nice cohesive teamwork from them.
Yeah, that was great to see. And XTEAM, I think that was planned. I think they've seen all Rejection Gaming's split that they constantly do between Razak and School. And XTEAM, they just came in fast, didn't hesitate whatsoever. You saw, they heard the footsteps and they were immediately aggressive. They didn't pause to be like, oh, there's a team here. And they pushed with 2 people, so they knew it was only one beforehand. So just a sign of teams finally kind of flipping the switch and realizing, they've been missing out on a lot of easy early game kill points because they were too busy thinking of, oh, we got to play our own game, which mainly was focused on rotations. But now they're taking the aggression to the other teams and they're forcing the mistakes onto them. All Rejection Gaming's mistake there, playing way too split with that player not having an exit strategy ready.
Yeah, 12 out of 10. Rexpect on our screens right now. Coincidentally, statistically, they've won the last game of the day on the last 2 days. Sorry, not the last 2 days, day 1 and day 3. So the 2 chicken dinners they've gotten have been on the very last game of the day. might be the same case today. QILIN loses a player at the hands of TipTop, the two Chinese player teams battling out between Shelter and Prison. It's on the eastern edge of the circle. TipTop definitely have a more advantageous area, and not only do they steal the kill, but gonna steal the buggy as well. That's just like that's proper insult right there.
This is the first time I've seen players die like here and there, like just kind of scattered in the beginning of the game. It's a combination of teams making mistakes, but it's also definitely more so due to the fact that teams are being more proactive, right? In the first 3 days, we've seen players split. We've seen players rotate around by themselves, but they were never really caught out because no teams were, you know, prepared to take advantage of that. But now it is coming through. We are 2 players down already, and the aggression it's there. I think for this entire day, we're going to see a completely different type of PMCO finals.
Very important for Romanian Boys. Looks to really kind of make some noise and push teams back. They have 3 players by that compound, 1 in Watertown. I don't know how heavily they're looking to adjust it. Trying to create a bit of a spread is important, but the risk is around it if you get picked off one by one. It's also a massive risk if you keep 3 players inside those buildings, because a crash can be kind of easier despite there being 2 buildings there. So I like how 4 Romanian Boys are handling this. I do.
4 Romanian Boys, they're readjusting their position. Now you see 3 of them more in the bunker areas. I don't know if they know Mega Powers here. It definitely does seem like they are aware a team is in that position. And those DP shots, ooh, did not get the opening. But that's going to pressure Mega Power to kind of, you know, play a little bit safer, because that DP, it hurts.
Coordination wasn't quite there with the shots from the 4 Romanian Boys. Fella got able to pull off a first aid in time, and nade for his Rite is important, pushes him back, but 1 in return will slow 4 Romanian Boys down just a tiny bit. Nice backing away by Rite. Nice disengagement. A lot of players in that situation will instantly prone instead of moving away, whereas he knew another nade could be thrown out straight away.
100%. One question I have is, where's the 4th player of 4 Romanian Boys? We've seen
in
just
Watertown.
3 here.
In Watertown.
Okay.
Basically, Watertown / Headshot.
Oh,
Hills.
I see them now. I see them now. Yeah, they're moving up to Headshot Hills. It's that split I was talking about. And you see one player, Mega Power, trying to out-angle 4 Romanian Boys. This timing works out perfectly for the side. Yeah, Rex has
I don't think he knows Playboy is there, though. Yeah.
No idea.
Nice shots fired by Rex, but because he didn't have a clue, Playboy gets the initial knock. Backs away, the opening has been created. Playboy wants to wrap around, gets a confirmation most likely, and then he can create a bigger angle of pressure on the rest of Mega Powers. Great idea by Mega Powers. Let's be fair. 4 Romanian Boys, 1 step ahead.
Ooh, I don't even know if 4 Romanian Boys was 1 step ahead, or if Playboy just so happened didn't have a vehicle and he just ran on foot, and then the timing of everything just became super unfortunate for Mega Power.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Like, usually we would see somebody in that position shooting at Mega Power, so Mega Power would be like, okay, that position's occupied. But Mega Power played it very patient. Nobody shot at them from there, so they thinking, okay, that spot is open. And then 4 Romanian Boys, you know, just got the better of it. But they're going to continue this engagement. This is kind of risky. We are in the center of zone.
I agree.
Right? So I like the fact 4 Romanian Boys is pressuring the 4v3. But you see it on your minimap. So many teams just hovering right around this area.
I also don't agree with 4 Romanian Boys having a 2-2 split. To me, you don't need 2 players in the back supporting role. You only need 1. You want those 3 players to look to create a lot more pressure on the front line. Move Mega players around so that 1 player in the supporting line can get knocked. However, Redox finds it. 2 players left for Mega Power, 4 Romanian Boys with very important kills.
I actually really like the 2-2 split because I was talking about earlier, they can get third party easily. So that 2-2 split is kind of like a half push, half stability formation where if they do get third party, they can readjust and they don't have 3 eggs in one basket. But now that they've confirmed that second kill, now you see the formational difference that you were talking about. Now they're more committing to this fight because they can do this 4v2 more easily and quicker without getting a player knocked compared to the 4v3 earlier. But I do see that one team hovering in the background. That is Last Fight. They have heard the shots that has been ringing out for quite a while. Last Fight, are they going to be a team that flips the switch and goes for the push? But an amazing nade by Bright.
Oh, Logis gets knocked. Not quite a confirmation on the Wicks. The final day is very important, but Logis gets a second knock. Confirms on the Bright. So close. He gets a knock on the Redox with the pre-fire. Not quite confirmed. Was that a third party from Last Fight? It was. Before Romanian Boys, they're down to 1. Playboy's on his own.
Oh my. That last stand by that Mega Power Lodges was absolutely insane. 4 Romanian Boys pushing kind of 1 by 1. Lodges played it so perfectly though, and then Last Fight came in for that third party. The Noisy Boys, they see that in the kill feed. They know for sure that 4 Romanian Boys is down to 1, and they might have a good idea of where that fight just happened. And you see it on the map. They're on the northwest. They're at that cube compound that has played such an important role in so many Erangel games. But the circle has shifted down to the south. The Noisy Boys, like I said, game number 1. 4 Romanian Boys might falter. They might slip up. This is it for the Noisy Boys to catch up now.
And I kind of wanted, and I really want to go into that 4 Romanian Boys fight a little bit more. Because I'm going to defend what I said about that 2-2 split. The reason why is because when phase 2 pops up and you're in the center of the circle, timing is everything, right? And if they had had a third player there, that initial knock on the Redox, instead of waiting for 2 players to join up for the squad wipe attempt, you're only waiting on 1, which makes the execution, in theory, quicker of that team fight. And you gotta think, that extra 5 seconds could have been the reason why 4 Romanian Boys had 1 player up to having 2 players up to taking out the whole of Mega Power. That's the way I look at it, right? That's why I wanted to kind of defend that a little bit more. I understand where you're coming from, but because it was so center in that phase 2 circle, it was inevitable that there's going to be a big chance of a third party.
Well, the third party did come out, so we could go on all day, but at the end of the day, I know,
mate, I know.
You putting 3 players to do a 3v2 situation, you're putting too many eggs in one basket, meaning you're stacking too many players in one area. And when that third party did come out, you saw how useless having multiple players in one section was. In my opinion, each player, depending on their position, needs to be able to optimize themselves at a high level. So even if it's a 2-2 split, when the formation is done correctly, keep that 2-2 and you can still choke out a team while maintaining the bigger picture of a potential third party and keeping your 2 support players more flexible for the split. I mean, I've seen it happen time and time again. You know, it's 1 player left, 4 players rush in, 1 of them gets knocked, that third party comes in, they're dead no matter what. But if it's 1 player up or even 2 player up, and 2 players just keep pressuring and force the enemies to make mistakes with the 2 support, and then a third party comes, they're fine. They have the supporting lines, they can back off, they can reset that. You don't need to 3v1 a player even if you can. You can honestly, with 3 players up, just send 1 player in and have 2 pressure it so much that the 1 player is inevitably going to win that 1v1. That's the way I look at it. You keep your spacing open. You keep positions optimized.
Love the different perspectives on board. As the next phase is about to pop up, because of the shifts that we've had, there's a lot of, obviously, traffic now on the northeastern side of the map, of the circle. The Noisy Boys did reposition. They have not lost any players. They have the full squad up. Agon is going to go full frontal into the circle. Playboy is still alive, but he's down on the southern side. Again, those are the two teams that we're really prioritizing in the final day of the PMCO EU Wildcard Finals. Daos Legion on 1 kill so far. I believe they caught a kill onto one of the either TipTop players or ENTROPIQ players, but now they're looking into the sidelines of all Rejection.
These teams all rotating in on that hard shift. The east side of the circle is going to be completely stacked. Meanwhile, the Noisy Boys on the north holding down the 2 buildings far in the north, isolated from everyone else. The Noisy Boys, they saw in the kill feed that the 4 Romanian boys are just down to 1 player. So I think they're going to play it a little slower. They know they don't need to rush anything and risk making the same mistake as the 4 Romanian boys.
Oh, Playboy being gifted a wing and a prayer because Evil Boy got knocked out with the third party as he was cooking a nade. La Familia, though, for the most part, obviously had that beautiful body advantage. Playboy proning down inside the one room of the upper story. Wasted. Cooking up a nade with the third party. Another one by Playboy gets there first. Ooh. He gets the knock on the Wasted. Wonderfully pulled apart, but it's not over just yet. He's going to jump outside the building. The footsteps are probably going to be hard. He's going to be taking those shots on board. But he's down to slimmer of health. He has to come around, but it's Paki 98 that shuts him down. That is 4 Romanian boys out early with minimum points.
Barely any points. They picked up 3 kill points, I believe, and that was about it. It was a 1v4 situation. Inevitably, he should have lost that, and 4 Romanian boys do go out. Now, the focus is on the Noisy Boys. They're still alive with 4. Yes, that's great. But depending on the circle shift and depending on the Noisy Boys' performance, like, they could easily slip up and just only gain a couple points. And the point gap is still huge between the Noisy Boys and 4 Romanian boys.
It is. At the end of the day, the door is open. The door is open. The opportunity is there for the taking. We talked about how in the games yesterday, 4 Romanian boys were matching the Noisy Boys. Well, now in this game 1 of the final day, the opportunity is there for the Noisy Boys to really capitalize. A 15-20 point game will cut that lead in half for the 4 Romanian boys. TipTop 5 kills so far in this game. They're outside the circle. Will Daos Legion they go down? Last fight, take them down. 6 kills for last fight. The third party 4 Romanian boys earlier on, and since then it's been one after another.
Circle shift is coming out here. We see the camera on the Noisy Boys chilling in the compounds, and the circle has hard shifted down to the south, away from the Noisy Boys. This is a bit tricky. The biggest problem will be TipTop. TipTop has a high ground on the Noisy Boys, and both teams will be looking to rotate onto the northern edge. If TipTop plays this correctly, TipTop will have a huge advantage over the Noisy Boys when they both try and contest that northern spot.
Massive pain in the butt for the Noisy Boys. Last fight with the nade, gonna take down Rexpect, just like that. The feeder's also eliminated. We are already down to 18s, 27 players on phase 5, so the action certainly has not really stopped throughout this game 1. Last fight, you can see Florin. He was the one to get that final nade. He's already on 2 kills, and he's looking for more. La Familia taken down at the hands of Hater, prone down. Gonna capitalize on that one. I believe he's the last player up for his side. La Familia down to 2.
La Familia down to 2 and still have to move into the zone. Last fight right now are at 9 kills. They're finally living up to their name on the last day, putting up that last fight, and they get that revive. They'll continue to have 4 alive, and they do have a player already positioned inside the circle, an anchor point for the team, and you see the rest of the team move in right now. The Noisy Boys deciding to rotate in very late from the north side. Noisy Boys on a course to fight with last fight. They're about to
they're on the course to fight for last fight. They're going to crash in and knock. Actually, 2 knocks on the last 5 players has already been pulled out. So that backstab is going to be played out. You see on the Susho and the kill feed. That's very important for the Noisy Boys. The timing of the rotation from the high ground compared to Tip Top is way better. I absolutely love that from the Noisy Boys. They knew that they had a challenge in front of them. So going too early could have really gone massively the other way around.
If they went too early, they'd be kind of caught between Tip Top and Last Fight. But now that the blue zone is closing and they time it, they get some opportunity to work the fight with Last Fight. Last Fight, though, did manage to get a revive onto all their players. We're reset to a 4v4. The Noisy Boys, they need those angles. The blue zone is closing in. They need another util knock for the opening to press on it.
And they need to keep it flowing. They can't allow Last Fight to create an opening. Bimmy on that kind of flank side, putting pressure on the side is really important. Hagon gets knocked down. That's what I'm talking about. You slow down a little bit too much. You pay the price. It's going to become harder for the Noisy Boys. Have they met their match? You highlighted the Last Fight. Have 9 kills so far in this game. They can certainly frag out. Simple in the back line from FTY. Gets a knock on the Beg for Mercy. He's down. So is Agon. The Noisy Boys are left with 2 players up and they only have 1 kill. Yes, there's 6 teams left, but that's only a minuscule amount of placement points.
Oh, 2v4 situation, and I think Bemi has used the majority of his grenades. The next circle comes out. Last Fight have no rush. The circle's right in front of them. They could really focus on the Noisy Boys. Actually, Last Fight electing to just find a spot in the zone. I could agree with that move too, but the Noisy Boys, what are they gonna do now?
There's absolutely nothing Mizawa can really do because he has a sliver of health and only bandages on board. Although Bimmy got the opening with the knock, there's nothing more they can do to try to push in, but the Noisy Boys are out. They're out in 6th. And I would argue they probably got the same / very similar amount of points as 4 Romanian Boys because at least 4 Romanian Boys got a few kills on board. Disaster for the top 2 teams fighting for the PMPL spot. Certainly a lot worse for the Noisy Boys.
Yeah, we could basically almost mark this game off as neither team gained any points. They pretty much gained similar amounts. One team that gained a lot already, though, is Last Fight. Last Fight right now with 12 kill points. They did lose a player. They're down to 3, and now we're down to these last 5 teams.
Finding the final day of the PMCO finals, FTY could certainly start to wake up, but CPDD is slowing them down. Not Simple. Ale. Simple's obviously IGLing for the side. Luckily, a Molotov will keep... Oh, sorry, not take Kale down, and he'll stay alive. Another one being thrown out by CPDD. Stupid Pig is still going, getting inside the vehicle. FTY looking to hover onto the edge. Nice shots in return. The hay bales is helping Tip Top, but for only so long as a third party comes out.
Last Fight finally managed to get an angle on that player. That's 1 down from Tip Top with only 1 left alive. Meanwhile, New Generation have had the zone blessed for them at that compound. New Generation still have 4 alive, while these other teams are just having to snake it out in the fields behind hay bales, getting battered up, and that zone shift favors New Generation.
It hurts so much more the fact that the road is split in the middle, so even less cover, even harsher surroundings for all of these teams that are outside the circle. Last Fight left with just Sushio left in his own. You could argue this is a free chicken dinner for New Generation in closing moments of this game. They have all 4 players up, as you said. The spread they control is beautiful.
Oh, does Red X see Simple off to the side? The problem is, even if Red X sees him, if he peeks up to shoot him, Simple has a DP aimed right at his head. Red X, oh, they have no idea. Red X, oh, wow, what? They drove right by him.
It's a bait. It's a
back on him.
it's a beautiful bait because Red X moved up with the buggy and then Simple shot him from behind. Now, of course, the knock has come out in return by New Generation on the Kales. That's going to allow them to push a little bit more aggressively forward. Simple needs to get up, stand up, and move closer to the rest of his team. A lovely nade being shot up. That's going to take him down. And like I said, that's why Simple needed to push a little bit more forward, but maybe he's hoping he's not going to be spotted out. Now he is indeed. New Generation get the final kill. Yes, they might lose Red X, but at the end of the day, it's just them and Tip Top left in this game.
Tip Top being just Stupid Pig. It's a 1v4 situation. I think Stupid Pig realizes it's a 1v4. He can't really take advantage of that knock, though, and maybe he's going for a knock and a thirst. Maybe one of the New Generation players will get too aggressive and get knocked to be able to be thirsted, but here we go. It is all over. That is New Generation with a chicken dinner. Yesterday's show was all about 4 Romanian boys and the Noisy Boys. They were getting chicken dinners. They were getting massive kill points, but finally, on the last day, we see these other teams. Like I said, they're kind of flipping the switch. They're realizing like, hey,
yeah,
we are better than some of these other teams. Why don't we play like it? New Generation got the zones and they got that chicken dinner. But last fight, they put up the last fight. They fought every team on the way in and they secured so many kill points and the placement points.
Are we seeing the pressure getting to the top 2 teams as well, right? That's something you got to think about, the mentality, the weight that is on all of those players' shoulders to perform, to get the results. I would argue that although I like the compound, the 2 buildings that the Noisy Boys held onto in that kind of northern side of the map, maybe too much of a commitment, too passive, right? We saw 4 Romanian boys in the earlier circle kind of, have a player or 2 outside of those buildings just to keep scouting. I think the Noisy Boys could have done something similar, but again, a little bit of fear sets in, a little bit of uncertainty, and it meant that when the hard shift came out, it made their job so much harder creeping into the next circles. But again, yeah, you're right, New Generation and a couple of other teams really stepping up to the plate and realizing that they can unleash the shackles, nothing to lose, and just perform in the best possible way. To be fair for New Generation as well, they are very close to like jumping up 3 or 4 places. So that chicken dinner will probably see them get very close to the first half of the standings.
We still have 3 games left to play too. So let's move into the match rankings real quick to see where the teams stand after that first game. More importantly, let's see the point gap. Oh, I'm sorry. Not yet. We'll get to the overalls later, but here's just the match ranking. I'm sorry. I'm too excited to see like the overall scores. But here we have the match rankings. New Generation with 12 kill points, 27 point total. Last fight with 13 kill points, 21 point total.
Brilliant.
Like, these teams are stepping up. And the Noisy Boys, you see them down there, 4 placement points, 2 kill points, 6 points. And I don't see 4 Romanian Boys on the first page. Meaning they only got 3 points or less, but that basically means the Noisy Boys gained only 3 points onto the 4 Romanian Boys.
FTY having a good game, 7 kills, 10 placement points, 17 in total, as well as TipTop XTEAM with a lovely double-digit scoring for this game 1. Let's move on to the second page, though, because again, we need to know how many points 4 Romanian Boys secured. Indeed, you're right, 3 points for them. That means that the Noisy Boys are now 40 points behind 4 Romanian Boys with 3 games to go. I know I've done quick math. I've it written down in my notes. I'm a clever cookie. I've come prepared in the final day.
You also brought out your calculator just in case.
Okay. Don't reveal a secret, okay? Come on, man. I'm trying to look cool here, I'm trying to look intelligent.
You're very cool, Inferior. But when we get into the second match, I wonder if the Noisy Boys and the 4 Romanian Boys can reset their cool. They are definitely flustered after that first game, but to each their own. They both messed up. So maybe the 4 Romanian Boys not feeling as bad. And same for the Noisy Boys. They might just be like, okay, we could just forget game 1 happened, because points-wise, it basically didn't happen between those two. And then reset the cool, come into game number 2. Game number 2 being Sanhok, though, it's going to get kind of hot in there. So, this Sanhok match, it's going to determine the course of the rest of the PMCO finals right now.
Yeah, it is. Let's go to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have Sanhok on your screens. Don't go anywhere. The nerves, the pressure, the weight, the mentality, all getting to the two teams that are fighting for that one golden PMPL spot. We've had one game down, and the two teams, for Romanian Boys and the Noisy Boys, both crumbled in the points that they secured. Yes, it was more for the Noisy Boys, but not as much as they would have wanted. Zute were heading over to Sanhok. Statistically speaking, for Romanian Boys are a lot stronger. And when I highlighted the statistics yesterday about Miramar, the Noisy Boys smashed them out of the park. It could be the same today.
Yeah. It can happen today. Sanhok, we always say anybody can win on Sanhok. Really, it all kind of comes down to the circle. Yes, team skill is heavily involved, but we've seen the Sanhok hardships. We've seen what little teams could do on certain shifts, and it comes down to the circles. I would have to give the edge, like you said, statistically, the four Romanian boys do very well on Sanhok, and that's honestly due to where they drop. They drop in Painan, the center of the Sanhok match, or the Sanhok map. And with rotations being so limited on Sanhok, if you could start in the middle, you have a higher chance of being able to get to where you want to. It works the same as all the other maps, but without cars, without roadways, so to say, to be able to loop around and wrap around, it becomes ever more important about your positioning on Sanhok in the beginning of the map.
That's true. The Noisy Boys, they drop in Paradise Resort. They're not known to use vehicles all the time, so I think that's a positive thing. I'm personally not a massive fan of vehicles in Sanhok, to be honest. And they've reacted pretty well to, for the most part, a few of those Sanhok circles, like yesterday's game when we had the kind of Northwestern Island finish. I think they reacted to those circle shifts pretty well, and they utilized that kind of Paradise Resort starting point, swept into the northern side of the Northwest Island and played from the compound. So there's definitely, I love your point about four Romanian Boys. Technically, they do have a better drop spot, and is also not around as many teams as the Noisy Boys. If I'm not mistaken, the Noisy Boys might potentially have to deal with all Rejection Gaming to the east. You have the feeders to the east. That can be a little bit more dangerous, as well as Mega Power that drop in boot camp that could put them under a little bit of pressure. So yeah, it's definitely a lot harder for the Noisy Boys. But mentality wise, who's under the bigger amount of pressure after that game one? Are four Romanian Boys after a shaky 3-pointer, or the Noisy Boys?
I would say, based on how both teams went out, that's a tough one. So on the side of four Romanian Boys, right, they made a clear, obvious mistake. Like, they committed too many players to just take care of one team, and they trapped themselves in for that third party. They had a good spacing before that, and if they kept that spacing, that wouldn't have happened. That third party wouldn't have been as deadly. So clear-cut mistake for four Romanian Boys. For them, they could just be like, all right, we're a little overzealous, got over-eager. We need to dial it back down. Clear mistake. We'll fix it. No problem. For Romanian Boys, they didn't really make a big mistake, and they just faltered. So I would say maybe they're feeling the pressure a little bit more.
Okay. Definitely interesting to think about. I would agree with you, to be fair. Just like I agree with the fact that Xiaomi are sponsoring this PMCO EU Wildcard region. Enjoy a super fast and lag-free PUBG mobile experience on Xiaomi's powerful Redmi Note 10 5G. Thank you guys for sponsoring the PMCO. Sanhok, you said any team can win. I'm not going to ask you for a prediction, to be fair, because I'm not really a big fan of predictions. But one team that I'm looking out for to maybe cause a bit of an upset is Rexpect. They've been aggressive in the Sanhok games. They've performed well in the Sanhok games. And then you have the teams that performed well in game one. Last fight, FTY, New Generation. Again, all of those teams can have a big impact on the results of the top two teams.
Well, without further ado, let's get into this Sanhok match. Let's see which team is going to come out ahead here. And is the Noisy Boys, are they going to catch up to the 4 Romanian boys.
Man, I'm so nervous for these teams. Like, I feel it. You're a former competitor yourself. I can only imagine you might have like elements of flashbacks of what it was like for you and past tournaments and how tough it can be to deal with. If you were the IGL of both of these teams, or if you're the IGL in one of these teams in this situation, what would you be saying to your teammates to maybe take their mind off it, to calm them down, to keep the focus?
Ooh. I mean, words can only do so much. I mean, the most I've done is just say, like, we got this. Like, we know what our plan is. Stick to the plan and just don't get nervous. Like, those words like can only do so much at this point.
Okay.
It really comes down to the player experience, right? If you get a player that's nervous, I don't think there's anything you can say to that player coming into the final day of the finals to calm down their nerves. So, yeah, you can say some words for encouragement, but it really comes down to the player themselves.
And I'm glad you brought up experience. The Noisy Boys, both as team, as players, and as a team name, has a rich history in PUBG Mobile Esports Europe. The Noisy Boys name goes all the way back to the PMCO Spring Split 2020. After the group stage, heading into the finals, Agon joined that team from Red Reserve with, I believe it was Whitey and a couple of others, and they ended up qualifying for the next stage. It was really kick-ass. And then he moved on, of course, and he kept on with the Noisy Boys, and then they ended up signing with an org and then going to, of course, Unicorn's Love in due time. But the Noisy Boys has a rich name in PUBG Mobile Esports Europe. For 4 Romanian Boys, yes, the association is there with Nexus 4 Romanian men's side, and there's been a lot of guidance from the PMPL brethrens. But this team is generally not as experienced. They won the ESL Mobile Open. Definitely wasn't as good in terms of performances, but they still won it. However, the preparation has been done by them, fighting against teams such as Navi, Kanina Power in scrims and tournaments to prepare to really strengthen their ability to hold things back and hold a stronger team back. And they've come into this PMCO and they've lit a fire underneath so many of the team's asses. They've lit a fire under, to be fair, my ass on how well a newer team can perform on a PMCO stage.
Oh, they've definitely impressed me as well. Yesterday, you heard me say, like, I am tired because of the craziness and aggressiveness that 4 Romanian Boys has put us on. They are, and it shows that they have scrimmed with some of the best teams in the world. Teams like Navi, teams like Kanina Power. When you play against teams like that all the time, the pressure you feel from this lobby, and when I say pressure, I mean literally, like when enemy teams are shooting at you, that type of pressure, it is completely different. It is a lot easier to get shot at by a team in this, like a PMCO level team, than getting pressured by a team like Navi or Kanina Power. So the experience from those scrims is showing through. They're able to take advantage of the teams that aren't as proactive, that aren't as controlling as some of the teams they scrim against.
And I'm not saying they did well against Navi and Kanina Power in those scrims, in those tournaments in preparation. But that doesn't matter. If anything, you technically kind of, not that you want to do worse, but I always say you have the opportunity to learn more from a loss than you do from a victory, right? You're able to reflect a lot more. You're able to really kind of break things down on where things go wrong. When things go right, it's so easy for you to brush off any mistakes because it still went right. But when things go wrong, you're more heavily forced to take a step back and go, wait, where did we go wrong? So 100%, doesn't matter if they've done good or bad. At the end of the day, they put in the preparation. Now on this map, the Noisy Boys have made a swift rotation very early in this phase one from Paradise Resort, but they're getting close to Sorry for Skill.
This rotation is a standard, right? When you get that southern zone from Paradise, you have a clear opening to cross that road. If you take any longer to cross that road that the Noisy Boys just did, you're kind of stuck on the other side of the road. So good to see that fast rotation.
Yeah.
And even though Sorry for Skill is here and no shots have been exchanged, I am pretty sure the Noisy Boys know for a fact that there is a team right there at those compounds. One of them might get knocked from the Noisy Boys, but I doubt one of them is going to put themselves in a position to get knocked and thirsted.
And on the other side, 4 Romanian Boys made a swift rotation from Painan up to the northern Painan Hill. Talked about how that's a really strong place to control in the first couple of circles. They have a nice spread. Would you recommend a different kind of spread for them, or does this kind of split make sense for 4 Romanian Boys?
It makes sense. I would argue sometimes I see them send, or not them, but I see some teams send one player downhill to the buildings.
Okay.
And they can hold it.
Okay.
They can hold it down solo because his teammates above can provide supportive fire. And if another team pushes in from the north, the player down at the compounds is only in charge of getting, the information from the north side. So they could leave quickly enough to make it back up the hill, or they could put out enough firepower to really keep a team away.
So having one player in the building down the bottom of the hill could be a little bit more advantageous for them. Let's see if they pull it off. That's why I love asking you those kind of questions, just to get that little bit of extra insight. I know that you're a big fan of understanding how to extract the most out of Sanhok. I'm not a massive fan of it in the competitive pool, but I understand that there's a way to control it. There's a way to eke out the maximum of what can be a very unpredictable map.
I mean, at the end of the day, the PUBG Mobile is a battle royale, right? It's all about just optimizing every little advantage you can, because the circle is RNG. You can't control it. So it's all about adapting. And that's why I love this game so much. The best teams in the world can just make the most out of every bad situation at every point possible. And that's how they come out on top overall.
FTY taking advantage of the bikes to move away very quickly from last fight. Although it seems like they're going for more of a reposition as TipTop and Rexpect battle on the hills just to the northwest of Cave. It's a very similar hill that both teams battled. Actually, not both teams. I believe it was Rexpect got third party by TipTop in yesterday's Sanhok game when Rexpect were fighting against New Generation. New Generation are here to play, so it is a focus between these two teams.
TipTop right now with one player down. Same to the side of Rexpect. That trade knock back when the player pushed over was huge. It pretty much stopped the push and kept Rexpect alive in this fight. Rex with his second knock, 4v3 situation. You talk about it, Rexpect being a strong Sanhok team. The proof is in the pudding. They are taking out this TipTop team on Sanhok. Oh, I might have spoken a little bit too soon, though.
It's not over just yet. Okay. Yes, it is. You didn't speak too soon. Good protocol. Rexpect come out on top.
Rexpect was also on the low ground, but did you notice how that one player immediately realizing they have the low ground disadvantage, he flanked over to the left and got on top of that rock as fast as he can. That is just positional awareness. Like, at any given day, the player on the furthest left side could have been a different teammate, and it would be that player's job to do exactly what he did. So positional awareness is so key in engagements. Every player has to do a different job, and no job is the same, and you could be a different player at a different time in the same fight. You just got to be able to recognize that, and Rexpect did that beautifully.
Phase 2, much similar to Phase 2 in Game 1, centers up quite nicely. Still, the Noisy Boys are in a pretty decent spot. They're on that kind of edge of the black hole area just outside of boot camp. 4 Romanian Boys hold on to the north of Painan. Of course, circle closes in. Teams are going to start to get closer together. It's been a generally passive Sanhok game. Still 59 players alive, 15 teams up.
Yeah, the circle was pretty good for everybody. We didn't get like a crazy first circle or as heavily to one side. We had that just yesterday, and we saw how many teams died early. This time around, the circle's very favorable for everybody. And that second circle shift, it kind of just centered up, like you said. So we might not see much fighting going out in this second phase of the circle also.
And honestly, I kind of think, 4 Romanian Boys and the Noisy Boys would prefer not like massive hardships. Optimal is massive hardships in their direction, but they kind of want to see teams go out early because that means a higher chance they get better placement points, a higher chance they can maybe clean up a couple of kills later in the game. They don't want to see, a high amount of players left in phase 4 because that means there's a bigger chance they're going to get third party, they're going to get squad wipe. They could, of course, ultimately lose the opportunity of the PMPL spot.
I agree. Another point to make with that is when the circle kind of just centers on you, you're forced to just wait and not do anything. And when you're a team that is better than other teams, like 4 Romanian Boys and the Noisy Boys, you want the circle to move around some because then you can take advantage of teams having to push you or move somewhere else, or you can take advantage of you having to move into circle and just being the better aggressors onto a team that might be playing defensive. So it's a waiting game, waiting for the second circle, and nothing is happening when, the Noisy Boys and 4 Romanian Boys would rather make something happen.
And both of these teams have a notable amount of kind of traffic to the east of their current spots. Sorry for Skill, Defeaters, New Generation, ENTROPIQ, Rexpect, all to the west of that quarry area. I do notice that 1 or 2 of the Noisy Boys players are kind of going a little bit closer to boot camp, down the bottom of the hill that they hold on to into the building to try and get a little bit more information towards boot camp. That's shades of what you low-key recommended for 4 Romanian Boys, right?
Yeah, and look, that circle shift for Romanian Boys, they could continue to hold that hilltop. If it shifts up to them, great, that's perfect. But if it shifts north, that central compound that is not occupied by anybody will become massive in the late game. This is, once again, that circle shift where it doesn't go anywhere. So the Noisy Boys and 4 Romanian Boys, they don't necessarily have to do anything, and it kind of just condenses everyone, which makes it much trickier to play that Sanhok end game.
Wow, we are shaping up a hell of a lot of bloodshed come the end of phase 3 into phase 4. We haven't had a hard shift so far. Mega power into FTY. Nox is there around the area. Kale gets knocked down as well. Last fight, slowing down Nox. A third party means that FTY probably won't get the best result in the world in this Sanhok game. This is on the southeastern edge of the circle. Good positioning from last fight. They do hold on to the bridge control, and Nox, he gets knocked down.
Reki with a nice headshot right there, picking up some kill points. Good for them. They do have a player knock from last fight that's far out. I don't think he's going to be able to get revived. FTY just down to the 2. They do have a bike for a YOLO rotation. When you're down numbers, you can go for that YOLO rotation because you can't really fight your way in anymore when you just have 2 players.
New Generation stormed the center compound, and I believe they lost a player at the hands of Noisy Boys. So that's a point in the favor of the Noisy Boys. I'm keeping an eye on it as much as I can. Luckily for FTY, that third party from La Familia slowed last fight down and even took away that off-angle player they had. You can see in the kill feed, Both of the top two teams are starting to light things up. Agon and knock onto another one of the new generation players. And I would argue a very important knock, because if that circle centralizes up once again, it's going to make it a little bit easier for the Noisy Boys to crash that compound and get the squad wipe without getting third-partied.
Every knock just whittles away armor too. That's the other thing. When you crash that compound and the player has a damaged level 2 vest, that could come into big play. It just depends on the next circle shift. 4 Romanian Boys pretty much have one of the strongest positions on the south side of the circle. And the Noisy Boys, they have one of the strongest positions on the north side. You see it right here. The middle road split is just dividing these two teams. And is it going to shift in the north, or is it going to shift in the south? Or maybe it might just center up again. We're about to see very, very soon. Which side is it going to favor? Which team is it going to favor? Oh. Fate has blessed the 4 Romanian Boys with that shift. The Noisy Boys have their work cut out for them now on this Sanhok game. And you see the 4 Romanian Boys instantly funneling back down into the city of Painan.
Are we looking at a Painan finish on the last Sanhok game of the PMCO Wildcard Finals? God damn it, I feel a little bit bad for the Noisy Boys. One hard shift in game number 1 messed them up. Another hard shift in Sanhok could mess them up again. They are in a little bit of a better position in this game. They've been proactive already, like you said, that knock an initial kill onto new generation, but they have to really look to close out this fight early as possible. The blue zone is already starting to close in. Phase 4 becomes quite tricky to deal with as well.
Sanhok is so unforgiving. We literally just saw the circle shift and it's already closing. So speed is of the essence. You see it here. The Noisy Boys. Ooh, great cover. Getting a knock, getting an opening. 4v2 situation, but they got to finish this fight and then head into circle. And there's going to be another team fighting them on the way in.
No, it was a lovely pre-nade by Bangs that got the knock. It's second one for Blind. They committed too much to one direction and they paid a price for the time being. Beg for Mercy is confirmed. He's been a dangerous player for the Noisy Boys in this PMCO, so a lot of firepower taken away. Never mind a body as well. We're left with a 3v3 and the blue zone is hitting halfway point on this phase 4. 4 Romanian Boys looking to take out all Rejection Gaming as well on the northeastern edge of Painan. Lovely nade. Lovely nade.
This is not going well at all for the Noisy Boys. 4 Romanian Boys, meanwhile, getting central position and picking up kills without losing a player. 5 kill points already. And the Noisy Boys down 1 player, still not in the zone. And the only spot in zone isn't even that good on the edge of that mountain. This a med strat time, maybe? Like, I don't know. The Noisy Boys, they need a big game, though. Med stratting is not going to be enough. They just got to manage with what they got.
Yeah, I agree with you. Med strat time would probably be the optimal protocol for them at this stage of the game. They do at least try and slow things down in their fight against new generation. A third party is coming on in. Mizzaro, he's left on his own. He only has 2 first aids. Can he clean a couple up from his teammates, from the players that's been taken down? As he gets closer to the edge of the blue zone, it's going to be harder for him. It's going to be so much harder for him. Alicio, look at him on the top of the hill at the edge of the blue zone, waiting. Takes down new generation. That's one thing. But the Mizzaro should hear those shots and will want to be very, very scared of his entry point out of the blue.
It doesn't even matter how many first aids Mizzaro has, because if you saw the circle shift, it's centered right on the 4 Romanian Boys. I don't care if Mizzaro has 10 first aid kits. Yes, he'll get some points. But the 4 Romanian Boys, they're about to run away with this game. And there goes out the Noisy Boys having to cross over in the blue in the open. Gets taken out by another player in the blue. That was med stratting. And that is it for the Noisy Boys. 4 Romanian Boys still with 4 up and center circle and a strong position. And all the other teams have to be pressured away 4 Romanian Boys is going to get an even bigger lead now after this game.
They could grab the chicken dinner. They're already on 6 kills. The circle shift up the north is on the hill of Painan. There's so little cover. You can see they're looking in the direction of the teams around them. They do have a 2-2 split, by the way, on the northern side of Painan. The shift does go away from them, but I would argue it doesn't really matter at this stage of the game. With 9 teams left, 23 players alive, there's openly 4 to 5 kills available for them from the Painan compounds. How they get them, if they get them, is going to be a different story, but it is available.
Mega Power showing up in the kill feed, taking out defeaters on top of the hill. One key thing to note, for Romanian Boys, they have the zone inside the wall of Painan. So that means they could just hold that area down as 4 people, pick up the kill points of these teams trying to pressure in on them, and then pass off meds for a medkit strat towards the very last circle. Like, for Romanian Boys, they have it easy right now, I'm going to have to say.
I agree fully. XTEAM down to 2. They're pushing a little bit closer to the 4 Romanian Boys in the central area of the north of Painan, using the wall and a couple of smokes to edge closer to the circle. They do have the 2 players in the anchor, while the other 2 players are in the buildings on the back line. That's fantastic positioning by 4 Romanian Boys. Mega Power, though, they have the northwestern side, actually the northern side of the circle to themselves on top of the hill, so that's pretty good.
Look at the awareness of the 4 Romanian Boys. They use the smokes to get to the wall, even though it's a 5-meter cross. They're not greedy with the smokes, and that player just tossed out a smoke behind them to cover the sightlines from the enemy teams that might be pressing in behind. 4 Romanian Boys, they, no matter if they're gifted or not, they cross their eyes and dot their T's. Yes. No, they dot their eyes and cross their T's. They make sure they don't leave anything to chance, and that's what makes this team so good. Sure, they got the circle, but they're doing everything as effectively as can be, and the Lex circle shifts uphill. This is Mega Power's game. Mega Power still has 4. Only 1 player left from all Rejection Gaming, and then we're going to have a potential 4v4. QILIN also involved, but only with 2 players.
QILIN, for the most part, the 2 players are more looking in the direction of Mega Power. Footsteps will be something to make note of. But if 4 Romanian Boys can time it right, they might be able to do something with this and allow QILIN to third party. Shots are being fired up. Rete, though, knocks down Bo. That's where the high ground advantages come into play. All Rejection step up, but Rex is better to react. Wix is knocked down. He's going to be taken out. Playboy's trying to heal up in the blue. Redux goes down. We are left with our final 2 teams. At the end of the day, Mega Power are going to take this chicken dinner. But the story is about the fact that 4 Romanian Boys continue to perform, continue to get the kills, continue to increase the lead against the Noisy Boys.
Ooh, this is a tough one. As soon as the Noisy Boys see the results of this match, they are gonna feel down in the dumps. I said after game number 1, depending on the performance of both teams, maybe from games 2 and onwards, they need to hot drop each other, right? Well, game 1 was a stalemate. Nothing happened between the 2, so they just did, standard stuff coming into game 2. But now after game 2, 4 Romanian Boys, they're creating an even bigger lead. Game 3 and 4, I'm easily going to predict that the Noisy Boys are going to try and drop right on 4 Romanian Boys and try and get them out early. And Playboy picking up another kill point when they already have gotten so many more points over the sides of the Noisy Boys.
You can call it lag because you're not casting on a Xiaomi device. You did call Mega Power for the game 1 chicken dinner. It's a game 2, so I'll kind of give you that one, man. Good performance by Mega Power, keeping that full team up and controlling that top of the hill on Painan. They kind of stuck to that area for quite a while in the game, and they took advantage of it. So definitely a deserved chicken dinner for them. The 4 Romanian Boys, second place with 8 kills. If I'm not mistaken, that's a 20-point result. We'll see the overall standings, of course, when we come back from the break, but speculatively, speculation for me is that they're now 60 points ahead with 2 games to go.
60 points ahead. Let's look at the match rankings.
Roughly.
Let's see exactly how many points they got in this game. Of course, Mega Power, finally, they showed up like I said they should, and it's great to see they're flipping the switch on the last day, coming in with the chicken dinner with 26 points. Hey, Mega Power, I know chances of qualifying is non-existent, but I hope this team keeps this up because there's always next time, and we saw how strong they could be when they're playing the way they should be in the group stages. For Romanian Boys, more points than necessary, more points than ever needed to maintain that first place spot. 21 points. Yeah, they got that circle.
21 points.
The Noisy Boys. I mean, we both saw that circle shift come out, right? I said it's either going north or south, and one team is going to have it way easier. Well, couldn't have been any harder for the Noisy Boys, and it couldn't have been any easier for the 4 Romanian Boys. But that is Sanhok, and that is Circle RNG, ladies and gentlemen. You'll get those games happen every once in a while.
FTY managing to pull out an 8-point game over Rejection Gaming getting 9 points. So fair play to those 2 teams. Let's move on to the second page and see how many points the Noisy Boys actually secured. 5 points is better than nothing. More points than I thought they'd gotten, to be honest. So it's a tiny, I mean like a tiny glimmer of hope coming into the final 2 days. But for their mentality, for their morale, it's disastrous.
Yeah, 5 points for the way that game played out. Honestly, I would say good job, right? Like we saw how difficult it was for the Noisy Boys, and they strapped together every amount of kill they could while they were being pressured in blue. They stayed in the blue, but this is the finals. We're on the final day, and if you're not first, you're last. So usually, you could give yourself a pat on the back for just managing 5 points in a game like that, but not today. Not today. Not in this match. Not with only 2 games left. The only pat on the back you could get now is game number 3. You drop on 4 Romanian Boys, take them out. Don't lose a single player. And you mentioned a potential 60-point gap. Well, that's a chicken dinner and 15 kills. So then you got to get the chicken dinner and find 11 more kills on the way there. And do that for game number 3 and game number 4. Meaning 4 Romanian Boys gets 0 points in the next 2 games. I mean, I could go on and on, but let's take it to the break. And then when we come back, we could see the overall leaderboards, and you guys could really see how far this game has separated between them 2.
What a way to come into the final two games. A mountain, an Everest, a gigantic wall to climb with 2 games to go. Zute, let's move straight into the overall standings to show everybody what we're looking at between 4 Romanian boys and the Noisy Boys.
You see it on your screens here, ladies and gentlemen. 238 versus 182. That is a 56 point difference. And I touched on it before we headed into the break. But the Noisy Boys need to drop on the 4 Romanian boys, take them out, make sure they get 0 points for game number 3, get a chicken dinner with 15 kills to get a total of 30 points, and do the same exact thing game number 4 to get 60 points to just pass up 4 Romanian boys. That is what needs to happen. I don't think we're going to see anything like that come close, but that is what I'm willing to bet Noisy Boys will try and do. The Noisy Boys, that last Sanhok game, kind of really set them back, Imperium.
It set them back so much. So much. The Noisy Boys, though, their team, again, made up of players with so much experience. Mazzaro formerly played for Destiny, incredibly valuable, important player of the team at the time. Solo on his own, scored so many points for Destiny. Beg for Mercy and Agon played for Unicorns of Love in the last PMPL split. So close to winning it. Couldn't quite get there. And then you have Bimmy face on the scene, full of valuable information and valuable talent. They have gotten 2 30-plus point games over the last 2 days, Ute. So it is possible. But to do 2 games in a row while trying to hot drop on the team in front of you, that's not going to be easy. Let's look at the second page of the overall standings again. Highlight. To be fair, Mega Power, they moved up in the standings.
Mega Power has been moving up. They got that chicken dinner last game. Also, I saw on the first page, Rexpect was 3rd place. So coming into the finals, I got to give a shout out to Rexpect. They told us, hey, we definitely faltered in the group stage. We should have done way better than we did. We're going to prepare ourselves and get ready and show out in the finals. Well, hey, I know they're being overshadowed by the likes of the 4 Romanian boys and the Noisy Boys fighting for that coveted first place spot. But 3rd place in the finals, that is still good. So I got to give them recognition there. And you touched on Mega Power. They're finally bringing it back, a little bit too late, but they're bringing it back. Same with the other teams that are still competing. Like, bring it back. Close it out with a bang.
Yeah, 110%. Enjoy super fast and lag-free PUBG mobile experience on Xiaomi's powerful Redmi Note 10 5G. Kick-ass sponsors of this year's PMCO 2021 Wildcard region. We're heading on to Miramar. It is a map that 4 Romanian boys are incredibly strong on. 40 points per game average. 40 points. Yeah, incredibly high average points per game for 4 Romanian boys across the Miramar games compared to the Noisy Boys that have 17 points per game. They have to hot drop. Will the Noisy Boys head towards the southwest of Los Leones? Will 4 Romanian boys drop somewhere else to prepare? Let's head on over to the plane path, see what happens.
Yeah, we are on the plane. It is south. It is towards the south side right there, stretching a little bit towards the north diagonally. But the main thing to take note of here is you see that city right there on the top right side of your screen. That's the city drop that is of the 4 Romanian boys. So like I said in game number 1, they could get their drop spot, but that also means it's easy for another team to target their drop spot. The Noisy Boys, They have to do it. There is no other way for them to get number one. And they're so far ahead in terms of second to third that number one is all they have left to lose. I don't think they're going to lose that second place spot, hot dropping for Romanian Boys. And you see it right now. Noisy Boys out of the plane. Same with the 4 Romanian Boys. You mentioned, will 4 Romanian Boys change their drop to prepare? Well, I think the 4 Romanian Boys know they're going to get dropped on, and they're confident enough to still take it because they do have an insane lead. They're able to kind of just be like, we don't care. That's how big our lead is, and that's how good we are. We don't care that you're dropping on us. We'll take the fight.
Okay, we're in for a doozy of a fight in the early parts of this Miramar game. If the Noisy Boys come out on top of this fight with the squad out with 4 players up, that will be glorious and ideal. Phase 1 pops up. It favors both of these teams. It's on the eastern side of the map, which, to be fair on the side note, it's where the majority of the Miramar circles have kind of been, on the eastern side of the map. So there's no pressure from that standpoint. Could New Generation get involved as well on that kind of northern half of Los Leones when they hear the shots between these two teams? But for the time being, the Noisy Boys, they have a decent spread. Are 4 Romanian Boys going to be able to deal with it?
The Noisy Boys, so they managed to drop where the 4 Romanian Boys are, but 4 Romanian Boys, they're baiting them. Like, yeah, we won't change our drop spot. We'll drop where you want to drop on us, but we're not going to make it easy for you. We're not going to just drop and take the fight. We're going to drop and run away and force you to chase us. And if you don't chase us, you're forced to start your rotations from an unfamiliar spot, and we get to just keep playing our game and play our rotations. The Noisy Boys, I want to say they need to be more aggressive. They need to chase down this team.
Yeah.
But when you're fighting here,
I agree.
If you're fighting here and you're chasing them down, you get put in such
a fair point.
Disadvantage. So it's all cards are stacked against the Noisy Boys right now.
That's a good point. Of course, they don't want to like go in blind. They don't want to, you know, like go be wild about it. But I would like a little bit more proactivity around heading towards 4 Romanian Boys in some way, shape, or form. Don't spend a super amount of time looting in this area. To make this final day of the PMCO finals a little bit more interesting, Daos Legion have opted to drop in on Mega Power and Picado. This compound, this city that Mega Power have had all to themselves throughout the PMCO. The challenger has arrived.
Yeah, nobody's contested Mega Power except one game out of the 32 that we've played in all of the group stages, and now they're getting contested again. And Daos Legion showing like, hey, you keep talking about Mega Power, like, oh, they're so good. I'm so glad to see them show up. Well, we're Daos Legion. We may not have, you know, as clean as rotations like Mega Power or whatnot, but we have the firepower. We have the team synergy to take out a team like Mega Power. And it's a 4v2 situation already. It is great to see some of these teams really stepping up and just taking the fight to the enemy teams.
It is. It is. Why not? I would argue that Mega Power maybe weren't prepared for this. So there was the element of surprise, but it's quite obvious that Daos Legion have really been sweeping through these buildings as a team. And I would argue if there was a blueprint of taking an engagement against a team in Picado, it's how Daos Legion are doing it right now. Constantly moving, constantly proactive, constantly looking as a team, not being too split apart, but also still working together to get the angles needed and get the aggression.
Yeah, it's a 4v2 now for Daos, but this is the most difficult building to pressure.
Yeah,
the angles are so tight. The defense has the huge advantage because you can't even really use your numbers and press in because you're all going to be funneled in together. But Daos Legion, they're making their way up. The first engagement's broke out, goes to the side of Mega Power. That's one down from Daos. He has to get the heal off. 2v3 situation.
Soka peeking up the stairs. Sava's pulling off the revive to Sava. Rex is going aggressive. He knows the opening is there, but he takes a bit of damage, has to switch over to the UMP. Stabs his Hoka in the back and gets the second knock on board. Untitled is there to provide a bit of cover fire, continue to slow Rex down. There's the last player of Mega Power. I know he's kind of covering a certain area. I think it's getting to the point where he really needs to start being a bit more proactive. And that was a nade from Sava up from one floor to another. And now the Daos Legion boys are going to send 4 players in. Look to get the squad out. The last player of Mega Power yeets himself out of that building. Jumps down. Drop shot is played out. And that was coolly executed by Untitled.
I love how he got the player killed before his feet touched the ground, so instantly the kill cam just goes to the player falling down out of the sky. That was beautiful to see. Daos Legion picking up 4 kill points. Meanwhile, the Noisy Boys did get a kill point, but it's not onto the team that they were looking for. They got a kill point onto New Generation, another team that loots in the same city. Unfortunately, just caught in the crossfire. And it's a kill point at least, but it's not the one that you're looking for.
No, it's not. Simply put, it's not. The Noisy Boys have missed a chance. They've missed an opportunity in this game. 4 Romanian Boys have rotated away. They're in that compound that is basically in the middle of a massive field to the east of La Bandita. It's a perfect place to put yourself on this phase 1 because you get so much information, and it's a relatively big compound where you can spread yourself out as a team a little bit, and it's quite hard to crash for so many obvious reasons. The fight between QILIN and ENTROPIQ and PUBG has gone into the advantage of QILIN.
So many teams contesting drops now. It has to do with the combination of the plane path being so south, and due to the fact that, yes, we're nearing the final games of the final day. Teams that have not been performing well, be it due to the circles or things outside of their control, well, they're taking things in their control by just straight up engaging with the enemy team in an isolated 4v4 off drop. So, victors to the teams that win the drops. QILIN, 1 player gets knocked though, but they still have that man advantage. It is still a 4v2 situation. Backfire hopping out of the window. Fights come close, but that flank by the QILIN player takes down another ENTROPIQ.
Really good for QILIN. Nice aggression. ENTROPIQ just aren't really ready to deal with this kind of pressure so early in the game. Oh my lord! Starkey! Beautiful double knock onto the members of QILIN, and the opening has been created. Sans is going to grab that information. The revive is paid out. Sans is on a sliver of health. Starkey is there behind him. Has to look to provide that cover. The third-person perspective on the crank is absolutely futile, while a couple of heals on the Gugu is valuable. Bow wraps around. They get the extra kill. They get the squad wipe, and they keep themselves up as a full squad.
I love how they waited for that flank to come out before they peeked that pre-fire angle. Well timed, the teamwork, the communication was definitely there. But we have all Rejection going to third party them in the southeast. You see it right now. And 4 Romanian Boys smack in the center of the circle and in a very strong position. They're playing 4 together. I like this. Usually we see them split just because they're a team that can do split defenses because they're just that good. But they realize there's no need to take more advantage than they already have. So they're eliminating just all risks, so to say, by just staying alive. Just 1 point per game is already 1 point more than, you know, the likes of the Noisy Boys would ever hope you could get.
Yep. That's a really good point to bring on board. Or Rejection Gaming, of course, attempting to capitalize on QILIN's squad wipe of ENTROPIQ. What was a slow engagement. Or Rejection Gaming rotated to the mountainside overlooking the Porter Preso buildings. Taking a vehicle out is important. 4 Romanian Boys, they do have a couple of teams around them, by the way. I believe they got a knock onto one of the players, which, of course, will create a bit of separation and a bit of suppression. Sorry for Skill and FTY now fighting to the north of Los Leones. The Noisy Boys are close by and they could get involved with a bit of a third party if they wanted to.
They need to look for all the fights right now. They missed a chance on denying points, so all they could do now is get a bunch of points to counter whatever points that the 4 Romanian boys are about to get. So
yeah,
it looks bad that the circle's away from the Noisy
closer.
Boys or they're on the edge. But they just need to start sweeping everything on the map right now and win all of their fights and hope the 4 Romanian boys in their comfy spot don't get any kills.
They're close. They are honestly so close to third partying this, and with New Generation getting a knock onto Biscay, another one onto Biscay once again, it's perfect. Perfect for the Noisy Boys to get involved. Look at them up there. Do it! Do it! There you go, Big for Mercy. In amongst the smokes. Try and confirm the kill. Not quite there. I'm rooting for you guys. I really am. Just because I want to make that final game so much closer between these two teams. Sorry for Skill. It's going to take one of the kills or one of the potential kills away from the Noisy Boys. Biscay goes down. There you go. One more. That's 3 for the Noisy Boys.
We see one player running back to that vehicle, so they are going to commit to this fight. Ooh. Oh, that knock would have been absolutely huge. That would have been the opening that the Noisy Boys needed to feel confident to press down. Didn't get the knock, but they still need to press down. I know they're in a good spot. I know they're picking up kills, but you need more than that. You need way more than that at this point. At this point, you need to play the game like a classic match. And you have 4 super players, and you're going to go for a kill record. Like, I'm asking for 25 kills or more. Maybe even 30 kills.
Ooh. Oh, out of the... what will be essentially 47 players left, that is definitely going to be a challenge. But I see where you're coming from, and honestly, I'm agreeing with you because it will make their job in kind of game 2, in the final game of the day, should I say, a little bit easier, a little bit less stressful, a little bit, of course, more relieving. Man, I just don't know if they can do it. 4 Romanian boys did have a player knocked, by the way, from Rexpect. They couldn't confirm it. Defeaters, they'll take a kill onto Rexpect.
Rexpect on the southeast side right now, taking a fight with last fight 3v3 situation. Rexpect, though, they have a player on the other side of the road. I don't know if last fight realizes this, but that player can get a flank very easily. Hasbullah pressing them and using that grenade. I love the utility. That should be good. Oh, maybe bounced a little bit too much off the ridge, but it is a good start to keeping last fight's heads bowed down. And here comes a quick flank. I love this play. Ooh, absolutely beautiful.
Really good proactivity in through the window. Hasbullah with the knock. Nice on the FPP mode. They keep themselves covered as well. Last fight, I believe just IM Sierra is left up. They turn their attentions towards all Rejection Gaming and instantly respond again with more shots in their direction. 2 kills already. Yeah, they have a player down, Salazar. But you can see that they're not allowing that to slow them down. They've realized that they need to be proactive. They're on the kind of more edge-based area of the circle. Bardo, though, it's going to get taken down, and they're left with 2.
Yeah, Bardo had a sneaky flank coming in behind him that whole time. Not much he could have done there. Rex down to 2, barely in the circle, but the circle's about to shift. And I don't know if they have any vehicles, and we're on the side of the circle where there is probably maybe 2, 3 strong locations that's going to press all of these teams into the crevices, the edges, the scraps left on the map in terms of cover. So we're going to see a lot of teams just slam into each other while the main teams that got blessed with the circle are going to press everyone away. One of them being the 4 Romanian boys.
Remember when the last time we had a kind of similar base circle ending around here where it was the road and the hill by the road, the feeders had that chicken dinner? Could be the same thing again, but the team in the previous situation, I think it was Mega Power, if I'm not mistaken,
Mega Power
did pull out a wonderful result. 4 Romanian boys are in that compound spot. Couldn't ask for a better circle shift once again.
The Noisy Boys, I mean, they're not 100% sure where the 4 Romanian boys are, but with how fast 4 Romanian boys left on that first circle, they could kind of take a guess that they would be taking a strong position. So after they clean up this fight, yes, they needed to clear out the teams on the way there. They can't drive past them and get shot in the back. So I like this. This is a good first step. The next step I want to see, though, they need to slam that compound. That is the 4 Romanian boys. Take that spot and win the rest of the match.
New generation, 2 players left up. Red X is behind the wall in the back line. I actually like the defense from New Generation. The best of what a duo can pull out. Beg for Mercy is inside one of the buildings in the upstairs area. I think has an idea of where Red X is. Noah's going to step back out. Going to go closer, join up as his teammates. The Noisy Boys has 1 player in the back line. I believe it's Agon. Bang's going for the pre-fire. A couple of players have sent themselves up. Yeah, Agon is wrapping around to provide a little bit more of an aggressive cover for the rest of his team. Red X has been spotted out. Red X is looking to create a bit of a distraction. Bimmy cooking up a nade that is going to fire from one of them. Agon getting third party is going to get knocked down by 4 Romanian boys, no less. Don't know if that confirmation is going to be able to be pulled out, but for the time being, the focus still needs to be on this engagement with New Generation. They've taken down Bangs, just Red X left.
The circle is closing, though. They needed to do the same exact push before they saw that shift out. They needed to be even more proactive. I like the play, but they need to do that one circle earlier. They are getting shot at by the 4 Romanian boys. No kill confirmed, so 4 Romanian boys, they are not 100% sure if that is the Noisy Boys or not, but it doesn't matter. The blue zone doesn't care what team you are, because if you're staying in that, you're getting shot. Oh,
yeah.
There we go. It is all but over for the Noisy Boys. There's that confirmation.
Agon's going to get taken down. Bimmy's taken down. Yep.
Moment of silence for the Noisy Boys.
It's phase 4. It's phase 4 blue. Shorty, it's kind of okay at that point in the game to actually stay in the blue, right? Shorty, you've committed to a later engagement. You committed to kind of being on the edge of the circle. Why not stay in the blue for at least until phase 5 pops up? Because at that point, the teams that are technically solidified in that phase 4 circle will have to move themselves. Therefore, it can make it a little bit easier for you. Whereas when you try and move in at the end of phase 4, teams are already there. They're going to be looking in your direction. So there's a way less chance of you surviving.
Theoretically, yes, it should work that way, but in the midst of all the chaos and things never go as planned, and between those two, they're both really bad. So it's like, it almost doesn't matter at that point, and they want to risk getting in, somehow just luckily getting in a little bit earlier. Maybe they don't get focused on. Maybe another team crashes 4 Romanian boys right at that moment. You never know in a battle royale, so they crossed their fingers. They knew they were behind. They went for the Hail Mary rotation when it's already late. It didn't work out, but I feel like that is just what they had to do at that point.
I understand where you're coming from. Now we see defeaters taking advantage of their roadside position, which they so comfortably held on to in the previous Miramar game, but this is a little bit tougher. Similar to what was ENTROPIQ at that time in that game, they were kind of getting third party, so it's kind of the case here. 4 Romanian boys move down. Nades are being cooked up in the direction of the defeaters. XTEAM is in the back line. You have this side of all Rejection Gaming to the north, across the other side of the road. Redux down to half health, but at the end of the day, 4 Romanian boys, 5 kills strong, 11 teams left. They have all 4 players up.
Oh man, four Romanian boys. Not only is the Noisy Boys not able to close the gap, four Romanian boys look like they're just playing their game. It's almost like they don't care what the storyline is. They're just gonna be the four Romanian boys and do what they've been doing since day number 1 of the finals. And that is just look unreasonably dominant and look unreasonably good. There is just no stopping this team.
In the words of Queen, don't stop me now. I'm having such a good time. I'm having a ball. Man, they're on the way to Mars. Like, just rocking it up left, right, and center. Beautiful by four Romanian boys. FTY, they get taken out. 10 teams left. QILIN are on that kind of eastern side of the circle. I believe it's just Sosa in front of them, so they have a good position inside this phase 5. Blue Zone is closing in. Four Romanian boys being prepared to react, to shift, to deal with the onslaught that could be going on around them, or that massive shift away could hurt them, particularly as La Familia, Tip Top. You have the last player, Daos Legion, to the northwest of them.
This ending circle, we got that giant road right down the middle. We got the hilltop sides. You can't ask for a nicer Miramar finish. And Wix with a beautiful nade all the way to the other side of the road. And we got that circle shift as if four Romanian boys needed any more help. They get the help of the circle. Defeaters, they have to press up, or they could just stay on the low ground. But four Romanian boys, if defeaters don't contest them now, nobody's going to contest them up there, and they're going to have their way with the rest of the lobby.
I would argue this circle shift is good for defeaters because technically they're not the focus of the next circle, so they can come in from behind and slow down, shut down, essentially do damage to the teams around them. Easier said than done, of course. Tip Top have a player knocked down. All Rejection Gaming is still alive. So is the last player of XTEAM. However, he's healing in the blue for the time being. 8 teams left, 23 players. Whiskey gets in the vehicle, moves forward. They are getting close to the edge of the circle. That's one kill, but return from Savage X. Wix goes down. A revenge a dish, best served cold, as that puts four Romanian boys down to 3 players once they get the revive off.
Four Romanian boys finally looking like they're mortal. That player just got traded and taken out immediately, but he went down, securing a kill for the four Romanian boys. So not to be messed with. Defeaters, I love that proactiveness. They went down to the bottom. They knew it was a bad position, so they immediately pushed up to stick their heads up to see if they can hurt the team that is going to hurt them eventually. But now they got QILIN on the other side of the road that they have to watch out for. And Crank, just as I say that, take out another member of Savage X.
Yep. That's why I mentioned about QILIN and their position on the east, because they were one of like very few teams on there with still a full squad up at the time, and that's the position that the defeaters came from in the previous Miramar game that they ended up dominating. So I'm sure the defeaters know that they're really not in the most comfortable spot compared to a couple of teams around them. Bright has not been revived up yet. The knock that they come out onto one of the QILIN players has been revived to keep them up as a full squad. Credit to Tip Top. They've been in the thick of it for multiple circles, but still holding up as a 3-man team.
Oh, Redox with the patience. He's going to steal that kill away too. Oh, he's one shot away. Crank does bleed out. The kill point does go over to the other team. Four Romanian boys still alive. Meanwhile, the defeaters, they finally got taken out by QILIN. Now that gives a lot of breathing space for the four Romanian boys. And the four Romanian boys, that one player back there just keeps getting knocked and revived.
Look, they're built different. That's all I can kind of really say about four Romanian boys. They are built different. So hard to stop. It's like they keep getting stronger the more they get knocked down. La Familia. La Familia now will have to get through Tip Top if they're going to make it into the edge of this phase 7 circle.
Four Romanian Romanian Boys on the edge here, and Redox with a beautiful knock. I don't know if Redox is in the circle on that edge, but QILIN definitely has the better positioning right there. You see Redox, all he's working with cover-wise is maybe like an inch of elevation cover, and that is it. And if his big head sticks up just a tiny bit, QILIN has his number. But La Familia, with 4 players still able to press in into Tip Top, they will be on the low ground though, so they might be the focus of the as they work their way in. Wow, beautiful nade.
Fantastic stuff from La Familia. I didn't think it would be so easy for them, but let's be fair, they are a team that did show up in the group stage. We haven't seen that kind of confidence from them in the finals, but it's certainly a pleasure to see it in the final day of the finals in this Miramar game. QILIN's down to 1. 4 Romanian Boys still have their 3 players up. So resilient, so controlling. They just don't give up.
Look at the positioning of the 3
knocking.
Look at the positioning of the 3 players in such a hectic last ending when they've been under so much pressure. Immediately when each player moves out, they're each in a separate key position, each doing a separate job in a separate angle. Of course, Bright a little bit overextended, but it is still good to see that they're taking initiative to be proactive.
Yeah, unfortunately, the edge of the blue zone, as well as the pressure from the teams around them, makes it so much harder. But La Familia, 10 kills, looking to get their chicken dinner. QILIN goes down, and La Familia come out on top of Miramar. I'm genuinely so happy to see La Familia get a chicken dinner on the final day.
La Familia, another team that you talked about here and there all the way leading up to the finals. It's good to see another team that we held in high regards show like, hey, we could still do it. It might be too late, but we could still close out games. Good chicken dinner for the La Familia. But the main story, once again, is, well, I mean, I think this chapter is pretty much closed at this point. The Noisy Boys and the 4 Romanian Boys. I mean, we have a clear, evident winner. We have a clear first place team in the likes of the 4 Romanian Boys. And I can't help but to say the Noisy Boys, you got one more game to hot drop on them. Just so you can just like kind of give them a little like spit in the face. Like, yeah, you guys won, but we can still kill ya. And let's move on to the match rankings. Let's see the points. Let's see the teams, how they did into the second last game of the day.
Familia, 26 points, 11 kills. QILIN with 9, 21 points. 4 Romanian Boys. 21 points in the second game of the day. 18 points in the third game of the day. Like, you're such greedy people. It's terrible. Say that in like the nicest way possible. You know, it's just incredible the amount of points they're able to get. Like,
they've transcended certain tiers of like good team play, right? Usually as a caster, when I see a team do really good, I cheer them on, right? I'm like cheering for them. I'm impressed by them. I give them compliments. But yesterday at some point, remember, you heard me say, just stop, right? Like, stop it. We get it. Okay, just stop. Like, that's enough. Like, that's just how insanely consistently up there they are. It's gotten to a point where I'm almost like, okay, like there's 15 other teams in here. Okay, like, we get it. Take a chill pill. Do something else. Go. There's an American saying. So, go touch the grass. I don't know if there's a saying like that on the EU side of things.
It's the same thing. Go touch some grass.
Boys, yeah, for the very last game, just put your phones down and go touch some grass. You've already won. You've showed us every reason why you're in the top. No matter the situation, no matter the opposition, we get it. Go touch some grass. Now, let's move on to the second page. Let's take a look at how the other teams did. And we already know the Noisy Boys did not do too well, but they are on that second page. They got 4 kill points. Yeah. Those 4 kill points could have been at the very start of the game on the 4 Romanian boys, and then they take the
Exactly.
position that the 4 Romanian boys are in. And even then, there's only a slight chance coming into the final game that they would
It's
have
not
had
the point.
a chance.
It's not the point.
Yeah.
It's better than where they currently stand with 0 chance. Small chance is always better than 0 chance. That's the thing. You know, that's
Okay.
why even at the end of day 2, you know, when a question was asked of can any team compete with the Noisy Boys, and at the end of day 2 we were, you know, kind of like, I don't know if anybody can compete with 4 Romanian boys. But then when they reflected upon it heading into day 3, it was like, yeah, actually they can
Yeah.
be dealt with, because the opportunity was there, the percentage was there, and the Noise Boys certainly put on a hell of a show yesterday. But that was yesterday. This is today. They've crumbled under the pressure, which is very, very hard to see. It's very sad to see. As a big fan of those players and the team, it's really, really hard for me to say that, honestly. I don't want to say it. I really was hoping for a big, big push heading into the final game of the day.
Well, they're still a great team. They've still put on one hell of a show. And it's not even, these aren't even like, you know, words to just give them a pat on the back. These are just true statements. Like, they're a team that could easily be a PMPL team, like the Noisy Boys, with the way they perform. But unfortunately, this time around, there's just another team that is, I'm not going to say better than you guys, but they definitely had a better finals than the Noisy Boys. Come second time around, it could be easily a different story. And that goes for all the other teams competing, right?
Yeah.
Mega Power is one of the teams that I thought was going to be the first place team coming into the finals.
Yep.
And just same thing for them. You know, this wasn't their tournament finals. There's always next time around. But we're not done yet. We still got one game left. We still got that one potential hot drop where the Noisy Boys could spit in the face of the 4 Romanian boys as a, so to say, good job, but we could still beat you. So let's go head to the break and let's wait for that final game to play out.
One more game to go in the PUBG Mobile Club Open 2021 Fall Split EU Wildcard Finals. We've come so far. We've had group stages. We started with 32 teams. We've gone through it already. Came down to the top 16 and they moved into the finals. They've battled their hearts out. But at the end of the day, there's realistically only been one team that's been a cut above the rest. Some tried. At the end of the day, they all failed. 4 Romanian boys. Let's go to the overall standings, Ute, and look at the lead they have over the rest of the lobby.
This lead by the 4 Romanian boys was put up since day number 1 started. And since day number 1, they already had like a 30-40 point lead, like a crazy lead since day number 1. And every day, even with a team like the Noisy Boys, the like superheroes, so to say, in this storyline, they cannot defeat the super villain that is the 4 Romanian boys. It's a 70 point difference now. 70 points from first to second place.
And you gotta wonder where the Noisy Boys' heads are at this stage, because there's no doubt they put up a massive, massive fight. Yesterday's performances, I've never seen such, kind of comeback fight. The dogged determination from the Noisy Boys in yesterday's game, starting with a 35 point result in Erangel yesterday. But then they come in today and they've scored, I think, 3, 4, and 5 points each game or something along those lines. They left it too late to hot drop, and even then that hot drop wasn't even really a hot drop in Miramar, and they're left with that. So I can only imagine how their heads are feeling.
That hot drop was more like a lukewarm drop or even a cold drop. But let's move on to the second page. Let's take a look at the rest of the teams on the leaderboards. Tip top and 9th and downwards, we got New Generation, Mega Power, La Familia. They got their chicken dinner finally in the finals. So that's good to see. Daos Legion didn't get a chicken dinner, but they dropped on Mega Power and they took a fight there and won that one. So even though the teams near the bottom don't look very good, they're still having small victories, and that's the most important thing in a competition. Always push yourself to do better than the last time.
Yeah, 110%. There's a chance for La Familia to move even up a couple of other places. Just like you can move up your PUBG Mobile game due to the where you can enjoy a super fast and lag-free PUBG Mobile experience on Xiaomi's powerful Redmi Note 10 5G, the fantastic sponsors of the PMCO EU Wildcard region. Last game, I'm a little bit kind of, when it always gets to this point in the tournament, there's a tinge of sadness because it's the last game. You kind of really wanted to keep continuing. You want to see how the story you don't want the story to end, even though a sequel is on its way, so to speak, with the PMPL. You just don't want the story to end. But we're getting to this point in the game for the final time in the PMCO. One team, I want your choice for the chicken dinner.
Oh, not ready for this. The Noisy Boys, they should get one.
Okay, boom. Let's head to the plane path for the final time. I love catching you off guard, by the way. Love catching you off guard.
We have the plane path. Yes, I know. But so this drop is perfect for the Noisy Boys, but that is not where they should look towards. They should look towards the Gatka area. But this plane path is hard to hot drop on Gatka because it's so far away. And actually, we see the Noisy Boys jump out of the plane already. Okay, before you say anything, yes, we wanted to see them hot drop on them because why not? They have nothing else to lose. I have a speculation, though, that because 4 Romanian boys have to stretch so far to their drop spot, it'd be kind of difficult to drop on 4 Romanian boys. And maybe the Noisy Boys is going to loot very fast, grab a car with minimal loot, and then drive to Gatka to catch them off guard and then take them out that way. Because they know they're going towards Gatka. They know 4 Romanian boys loot Gatka. So let's see if that plays out. Maybe.
But then again,
not.
But then again, the Noisy Boys will have seen how many parachutes went out with them. So the risk of trying to rotate super early onto the bridge when you have 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 players around you is going to be really difficult. In any other situation, or if there was a clear road in front of them, I totally agree with you. But with Sorry for Skill and La Familia still on the military island, I don't think the Noisy Boys are going to take the risk.
Probably not. They see that in the kill feed too, and this isn't the first time that these two teams have dropped around here and fought.
No.
So they 100% know where those two teams are fighting. So that gives, like you said, an even bigger indication that there's two teams that's going to be around the bridge when they try and go for that hunt down. So maybe the Noisy Boys, they're just going to play their game. Similar to how the 4 Romanian boys are just playing their game. And there's no chance for first place. So they don't have a real reason to do what I was saying anyhow, as Besso drives into a rock. I'm surprised I haven't seen a lot of that happen in the PMCO stage, by the way. Imperium, I remember the first PMCO, or PMCO's back, I would see so many players crash into trees, crash into rocks. So I think it's safe to say over the course of the years, players have gotten better at not crashing into things.
Oh man, oh man, oh man. Phase Zone Circle is pretty good for a good few of these teams. It's on that southwestern side. Sorry for Skill seem to be maybe looking towards the direction of the Noisy Boys. Besso dropped quite far away from the rest of his team on a side note. They've already lost a player, so it might be a little bit too risky for Besso to try and find something here. It might be better off just joining up with the rest of his team. Even Bobby is on the kind of southern side of the military island, so Sorry for Skill, they're very heavily split up for the time being.
I almost feel like their split was supposed to be a split that traps the Noisy Boys and picks up a kill or two. You saw how one player was immediately on top of that hill looking for an opening pick. But wow, down to 3 players, they might have to change their game plan. La Familia has left the military. That's actually, I'm quite curious about that. They dropped Military Island side only to just do a quick rotation off Military Island.
I agree with that though. Because often what can be the case when you have a very eastern playing path and you're looking to drop on the west, that kind of coastal line main road that's to the west of Farm can be a little bit congested. So it can often be safer to drop a military island, rotate early, which they did, and then you're able to continue to your normal loot spot. So I agree with that with La Familia.
That's actually a very good point. Very good point, Imperium. Oh, look at you, Imperium. You're teaching me a thing or two now coming into the last game of the PMCO. Sorry for Skill. That guy's laying low. The Noisy Boys definitely did not spot out that player, but they got that bridge to cross, and there is some more. Sorry for Skill actually got the heads up that the Noisy Boys are coming with that player prone at the tree.
Zaro has to reposition away. He gets out of the vehicle, more importantly, goes by the side of the rock. Looks to cook up a bit of a juicy nade. Switches over to the gun with the 4x scope. He has good support, but also he's low-key on his own. Another Noisy Boys player goes on the other side. This is a pretty decent formation by the Noisy Boys. I don't know if I agree with a 4-man spread, because there's a bit of a chance he could get picked off.
Keep in mind, there was that one player at the tree we saw earlier that's doing a flank right now. So the Noisy Boys, they have to make a play. First knock goes to the side of... Oh, the Noisy Boys are getting picked apart, and that's even before the player flanking has come into play.
There you go. That was a great turnaround from the Noisy Boys because Agon reacted really quickly. Mizawa maybe was a little bit too bullish on the opening, but because they are just knocks and no actual squad wipe confirmed, there's still one more player for Sorry for Skill. Besso, he's crawling, probably looking to give information. Sportsman, can he just dig and hammer the final nail in the coffin for what has been an extremely rough day for the Noisy Boys? He gets one knock, looks for a confirmation. Agon Mizawa not in position to confirm that kill. That's going to be best of confirmed. That Sportsman goes down. Luckily, Bimmy was not finished off. Agon definitely angry at that. You can see the emotion coming out in game. That's a healthy kind of expression to me. They get that squad wipe.
I can always get behind some box shooting, but that's not the team you want to take your frustrations out on, man. I wanted to see you do that to the 4 Romanian boys. That would have been that would feel good. That would feel way better, Agon, than shooting the box of that team right there. But continuing on, we got Mega Power right outside of Pachinki, their hometown. You see, we got 3 teams right around this area, and Sosa, no, you need to hop off the roof when you get shot at the roof, not go prone on it. Okay, he barely makes it in. Maybe it was instinct to just, go prone, but no, get off.
It is. Sometimes I think it's just that kind of guttural reaction of oh, go prone, but it's no, you're on a roof. That's a little bit useless, mate.
Yeah, he does make it in though. We got quite a few teams shaping up in the central positioning, and 4 Romanian boys on the other hand, super split in Gaka. They're still looting. They're just minding their own business, just not giving a care, just doing their own thing.
Ooh, nice to see some Mosin sniper shots coming out from a few of these players. I love the sound of that gun, by the way. To me, it's the nicest, outside of the the nicest sounding bolt action in the game.
I think it sounds better than the it's got
Really?
It's got I feel like the AWM's got too much bass to the shot. I like the kind of clean sound that this gun has.
Yeah.
I'm more of a World War II type of what is that? I think it is the Mosin. The World War II was when the Mosin was used. I like that kind of era of weapon sound and effects. It just sounds more
dangerous,
savage, maybe dangerous.
Yes.
Yeah.
Savage. Yeah, savage, dangerous, guttural. It just yeah.
Yeah, we got that second circle though. Does shift. It looks like it centers up, but that's because it just moves away from the water. So it shifts up to the north. We've got XTEAM fighting with Daos Legion. Once again, Daos Legion in the edge in the blue. That is just how they play, but they're not doing this fight too well with the XTEAM. XTEAM in a 4v2 situation now.
I think both teams once again kind of dropped in Yasnaya because that playing path was on the east. It was obviously easier for both teams. X-Team tend to go on that eastern side of the city anyway, so they would have had a much cleaner disengagement away to set themselves up for good defense. So I would argue slightly poor decision makings from Daos Legion. Gold Touch is flanking around, taking his time. I think he's been hurried up. Ooh. Goes for pre-fire shots around. I was maybe a little bit too early on that one. And nade and Molly was cooked up and thrown up by Hisoka just to send Gold Touch back. It's important now that with the distraction too little too late, because Gold Touch created a distraction, the rest of X-Team should have sent it way more aggressively forward. But credit where it's due to Sava. He stayed on the roof, predicting that push, and is rewarded with a knock on the Nightmare.
Gold Touch played that so well up until the very end. One thing he did, if you didn't notice also, he was lean while crouched while moving. That makes your footsteps less audible if you hold that lean button while moving when you're crouched versus just regular crouch moving. So he knew he had to play patient. He knew he was getting that flank that they don't know about. But at the very last second, he just let out his shots 1 second too early. Didn't get the opening, and of course he was isolated on that flank. So 2v1, he goes out. Zombie though getting a very nice nade on that return. Sava still on that rooftop, a very dangerous spot for the X team to be going against.
I don't know why Hisoka flanked in that direction. To me, it didn't make sense. Especially when you're still 2 players just left up. If it was a 3-man Daos Legion team, I would understand because you're trying to stay 1 step ahead. But when it's just 2 and you get kind of 2 kills, you even the score, you're better off sticking together.
It could have gone either way, right? He wanted to make a play, saw some opportunity by using that ridge. It just didn't work in his favor. Like, sometimes the right play only looks like the right play when it works, and it can easily go the other way. Like, 1 good grenade, right, changes everything. So that is what happened. FTY fighting with ENTROPIQ here. 2v1 situation, 2v2 to start, but FTY get the opening right there.
I love that point you bring up because it's something that I kind of need to think about a little bit more often when I'm commentating, is that yes, the right decision can only sometimes look like the right decision when it is done right. And it's very easy to call a decision a bad decision just because it goes wrong. But now the 2-man team of FTY pushing up towards the stairs. You have QILIN in the backline. Lovely play, but he knocks his teammate out, which is a little bit of an F.
Definitely, but does ENTROPIQ, can they put the 2 and 2 together? The kill feed is hidden, so even if he's knocking his own player, it just says Team 2 has locked the player from Team 2. It doesn't seem like ENTROPIQ realized this, as they're still holding a defense thinking they have 2 players pressing. Meanwhile, New Generation, the team to finally kind of put a halt to the monster that is the 4 Romanian Boys. 4 Romanian Boys down to 3 players already. New Generation did confirm 1, but can they finish this fight out in a 4v3 advantage?
The same compound in which New Generation secured the victory in game 1 of the day, in which they did take out 4 Romanian Boys. So it's ironic and coincidental that in this final game of the PMCO Finals, the final game of the day, we see these 2 teams battle it out, where it started at the start of the day. 4 Romanian Boys pick up another kill. They've turned the tides in this fight around in their favor. A little bit too much separation for New Generation and not enough closure. And hey, look, there's a reason why 4 Romanian Boys are currently at the top of the leaderboard. They're a tough team to topple.
Every player on the 4 Romanian Boys so deadly. Even if you get that man advantage in a 4v3, those 3 players could very well be like fighting 5 or 6 players, and you see that right now. New Generation forced to run away, and another one of them goes down as they drive off. 4 Romanian Boys, they live to fight another fight.
Rexpect moving up into the direction of last fight. It's Potato Hill, my favorite part of Pachinki, of course. Who doesn't love a good potato? Who doesn't love a good Potato Hill battle? Even a 3-way dance as Rexpect gonna have to deal with XTEAM from behind, off the back of them, taking down Daos Legion. They moved into the edge of the circle from the school apartments region to put pressure on Rexpect.
That player got out of the buggy the last second possible. That buggy was as destroyed as could be without blowing up. I think I saw 2 wheels missing and it was on fire but not blown up yet. Oh, that guy hit the eject button right in time. La Familia pushing into the last player that was of New Generation. New Generation is eliminated. 4 Romanian Boys definitely saw that happen right in front of them. Is 4 Romanian Boys going to just take the fight straight in? Or are they going to play like they usually do, more calculated and to find a better pathing in? And oh, that circle shift, though, probably going to go for the north side, because that is one hard shift to the north.
Yeah, it makes sense that they're gonna look to loop around and play a more calculated play style, and even that circle shift confirmed that. Wix is still in the blue by that compound, and that kind of makes sense because as much as I always say teams should look to reposition and move and rotate as a full team, often when you do kind of two at once, they don't think, your opponents don't necessarily think that there's another player there. It's just maybe two. So that third player has an easier time if left a little bit later to move in and join up with their teammates. The Familia, though, they are reacting to that circle shift. They're moving around, looking to take shots on towards TipTop. Daos Legion finally meet their match. They go down for the final time in the PMCO finals. 11 teams left, 38 players, and it's starting to heat up on the southern edge, or the northern edge of Pachinki.
TipTop trying to take some shots to slow down that rotation, but Mega Power has gotten in front of them, taking a very nice position in the circle on the southern side. You see Rexpect also looking for a spot, but everything is taken. They're driving all separated, going all around. Bardot gets knocked out of the car with a DP. Mega Power manages to find a nice spot to cozy in on, as the rest of the teams still trying to find their home.
I don't know what the hell Bardo was thinking there, to be honest. Like, you know, the position of his two teammates are pretty good, but I just don't know where he was heading towards, just going for a Sunday drive. QILIN, XTEAM, Rexpect, all in the one compound together. Two buildings separating each other. Of course, XTEAM and QILIN beside each other, so they technically could support each other alternatively and focus more on Rexpect.
100%. Meanwhile, Rexpect behind them, 4 Romanian boys have set up a position right there in those dips. Those dips are actually a super strong position. 4 Romanian boys, man, they just get whatever position they want. That was a hard shift away from them. There were other teams that had a chance at taking that position, but it's who else other than the 4 Romanian boys in one of the stronger positions that they get to keep all for themselves. These compounds are just as good, but you see there's 3 teams right around here.
Oh, man. Mega Power still up as a full squad. XTEAM, sorry, should I say Noisy Boys? Last game of the day. They still have a full squad up on the edge of the circle. TipTop pushing in. Vela, God gets a knock. Dute, you're going to have to carry it over. I need to cough my heart out. Bless my cotton socks.
All right. Go ahead, Imperium. And Mega Power lodges with that grenade, and it does pretty much finish out the rest of the team. Oh, the bullets will secure that one. And the Noisy Boys hear the nades. The Noisy Boys confirmed their kill on one player they knocked, so they know for sure which 2 teams are fighting here now. The Noisy Boys edging in. They have, so to say, the high ground advantage, but it's a sloping high ground, meaning Mega Power can use those ridges and pick up very easily. Mega Power does get tagged up just a little bit with that zone shift. There's a chance. Oh, okay. I was going to say the Noisy Boys don't push this and prioritize zone. But with that opening, they have time to push this and then prioritize zone and fight a team in zone.
Yeah, 110%. And even the feeders with that circle shift are on the edge of the circle. So look at those arrows. They're all looking in the direction of both of these teams fighting, looking for a third-party opportunity. But credit where it's due, the Noisy Boys waking up a little bit too late into the day. But either way, it's impressive performance. Beg for mercy. Pushing forward. Lodges cooks up a nade. Beg for mercy. Has to be careful. Giving himself a bit of a first aid. Jumping up. Bimmy trying to find a bit of information on where the 2 remaining players of Mega Power are. While the revive is being laid out up onto the peak launchers. Gets a nice clean knock on the Bimmy. Very well played. The push started, but it didn't continue for the Noisy Boys. It stopped. And they pay the price.
I don't understand why. The whole entire time, I was waiting for somebody to push with that player, and for a second, I thought they didn't have any cars. That's why nothing happened, but now you see them driving in with a Dacia and a buggy. I'm absolutely confused. This is not the Noisy Boys, the decisiveness that we saw out of them in yesterday's game. So something happened there. Some miscommunication. I don't know what it is, but you're right. They're absolutely getting punished. They miss out on the kill opportunities on Mega Power, and they rotate in too late to really suppress the team that gets to shoot at them for free.
And once again, your Phase 5 Blue Zone, okay, Phase 5 is definitely more difficult, but why are you kind of leaving it so late where teams are already solidified in the circle? La Familia have been there for a while. The Feeders have been in that compound for a while. You try and get in between them. What are you asking for? Just for them to say, okay, yeah, you're late to the party, but come on, stay where you are. No, they're going to take you out. They're going to be focusing on you, so the timing just not there for the Noisy Boys. Now La Familia focusing on last fight, their LF counterparts, their LF brethren. See who's the best LF of the PMCO finals day 4 of the day. A lot of pressure being laid out, constantly firing shots towards last fight. Really good proactivity from La Familia, and their positioning is wonderful.
Yeah, they have the strong... And with that circle, it is 100% the strongest position on the map. A nice, huge spread across the whole entire west side, getting angles on everybody. The Noisy Boys, you see it right there, only down to one player. Gonna try and go for that revive. Meanwhile, the rest of everybody else has to move in, and only La Familia control the circle.
I'm kind of surprised they were able to keep kind of those two players up, to be fair. The feeder is now being focused on by XTEAM. Glimmer of help. Now 4 Romanian boys taking the shots on the last fight. This kind of circle is kind of real big third-party territory, so the timing of your engagement, the timing of your movement is both a big mix of luck and calculated timing. Good teamwork on board. See, 4 Romanian boys, they now focus on the X team because X team's made the noise towards the feeders, didn't capitalize it, and now they've been slowed down. The smokes are being thrown out. That gives time for 4 Romanian boys to move in. 2 on the vehicle, 1 driving, 1 in the passenger seat, going closer. They move in towards the direction of last fight. Mega Power, they are out of the game.
Redox getting knocked right there, down to just 1 player, but he does get thirsted. Playboy will be the last one up alive for the sides of the 4 Romanian boys. But we've seen what Playboy can do. We've seen what each individual player on the entire team could do, so they're not out of it just yet. X team, Nightmare running wide in the open. I think he had a grenade out as he threw it towards Playboy's side. X team, they're not in the circle, so I understand why this player, Nightmare, is leading the charge and really wants to push their way in.
Yeah, definitely. Well played. Now, they need to clear out the defeaters. If they don't take out the defeaters, then they don't have a chance of winning. And then Nightmare gets taken out. Unfortunately, La Familia controlling this game. They performed well in Miramar. Now they're looking to perform just as strongly in the final game of the day. Like I said, it's a pleasure to see them in the upper half of this game, still holding things out. If they get the revive and the Kobo full squad on board, the feeders, they get taken out. 1 nade to rule them all. We're left with 3 teams.
Nothing more satisfying and competitive than throwing 1 nade and getting a full squad wipe and 3 or 4 kills. Evil Boy, he's still got more grenades, and I think he's going to run down for that crate and maybe loot some more boxes for grenades just as well from the defeaters' bodies. Last fight, they do have 3. They could put up a fight, but they've already been put in such a disadvantaged position. It's on La Familia to mess up here in order for one of these other teams to have a chance to win.
Playboy could come into play as a bit of a third-party shutdown, more likely towards last fight, to be fair. La Familia have way more of a dominating control, not really in the direction of Playboy unless Wasted gets picked up, but I can't see that happening.
La Familia, I like how they're playing this. They're playing it slow. They have the advantage, and they're just letting the advantage slowly work out for them. Last fight can't really do an aggressive push or anything. Same with Playboy. So La Familia not being too hasty, not overstepping, taking their time, biding their time. Their advantage does not go away if they take their time. And if anything, the advantage slowly becomes in their favor as the zone closes and there's less areas to be worried about.
I was going to say I would like to see Kobo go a little bit more forward on this side of the mountain. And that's exactly what he started to do, because he does want to cover that side. He wants to allow him and the rest of his team to have that level of control coming into Phase 8. He knows that his squad was wiped there because that nade was thrown out, right? So I do like that from Kobo. Playboy is doing the right thing of staying prone down in the middle, hoping that he's not spotted. I think last fight might have an idea he's there, but the second last fight, in any way, look for an engagement first. Then they make noise, and La Familia will come out on top. So I get why last fight are not moving a muscle.
Yeah, it's a patience game right now. We're probably actually going to see the next circle shift before the next action breaks out. I'm almost curious to think if La Familia know last fight is there. They've been looking really hard. Okay, there we go. Okay, Evil Boy is looking down a little bit to the left now. So they are aware, and right there, Evil Boy picks up that fight. The fight has opened up. This is La Familia's game to win now.
Instantly they react to it. Instantly they send a nade to utility, push forward in bodies and droves as they look to take their second chicken dinner of the day, back to back I might add, as they shut down the champions of the PMCO finals, and the last kill comes on board. That is, of course, La Familia winning the game, but you can see on your screens the graphic. 4 Romanian boys. They were the story of the PMCO group stage, a story of the PMCO finals. They came, they fought, they dominated, and they conquered to become your PMCO full split 2021 EU Wildcard champions.
Congratulations to the sides of the 4 Romanian boys. Now, throughout this whole entire finals, I've kind of painted them as the super villains, right? Because everybody loves an underdog. But the cool part is the story is not over. From here, when they approach the PMPL, they're going to be a team that I'm once again cheering for. Not so much saying they're the super villains, but once they hit the PMPL level of play, they might become the underdogs. They might become the team that struggles. Of course, here they look so dominant, but this is only one stage of the tournament. This is actually, for all you viewers watching out there, this is the lowest tier tournament. We start in the PMCO. We work our way up into the PMPL. And if you think the PMPL's got tough teams, you work your way up into the PMGC. So we got so many more chapters to cover. And hey, maybe the 4 Romanian boys, we might see them in the PMGC at the end of the year.
Of course, you look at Panda in the spring split. That was their first PMCO. They didn't win it. Did they win it? Not gonna lie, I low-key forget, but they did make it to the PMPL. They did make it to the PMPL. And they won the PMPL. And now they're signed to Unicorns of Love, and they're going to be playing the PMPL full split under Unicorns of Love. And there's a really big chance that they could go to PMGC. You know? So, totally agree with you. The opportunity is there. They just got to step up their game. One of the struggles Panda had was when they went from the PMPL to the EMEA championships, right? We did see their weaknesses. We saw their kind of lack of experience and lack of maybe preparation. Hard to put exact words on that. So I can kind of see the same thing happening a little bit to 4 Romanian boys when they move into PMPL. It's up to them to obviously allow that not to happen.
Hey, yeah. Before we move into the overall, because you brought up Panda, I'm sorry, but I just have to do this. I'm gonna pat my own back here. I was on a team that started in the PMCO. We got into the PMPL, and we also made it to the PMGC. But we didn't qualify for finals, so we still sucked. And, there's always room for improvement. But it's not too bad. Anyways, okay, let's move on to the overall leaderboards. Let's just see how well the 4 Romanian boys did. And honestly, second place and third place and fourth place team, they did really good too. It's just the 4 Romanian boys kind of stole the show from everybody.
84 points ahead of second place. That's unprecedented. That's unseen before. That is kind of beyond words / unbelievable. But it's there right in front of our eyes. 3 chicken dinners, 16 matches, 141 placing points, 133 kill points, 274 in total.
Yeah, 4 Romanian boys, we've seen them win a lot of crazy engagement. We've seen them just bulldoze through teams. But one cool thing that I'm looking at is, like, underneath all that, they're a team that heavily prioritizes rotations and positioning and strategy. They're not just a gun-reliant team. You see it in the placement points, 141 to the kill points of 133. And that last game, I mean, we built them up so much. I just kept expecting them to just take fights, run over teams, but they actually played the positioning throughout the entirety of today. And they picked up their kills later. And when they were forced to fight, oh yeah, they could put up a fight. So an all-around team.
Yeah.
Really great to see them qualify for the PMPL, a well-deserved qualification spot. And moving down to number 2, the Noisy Boys, I mean, if there was like another team that should move in, it would definitely have to be the Noisy Boys for me.
Oh yeah, 110%. Mistakes were made. There's no doubt about it. In the way isolating them, the way they reacted to some of the circles, the way they kind of, there was moments of definite, mistakes that they can improve upon, and that's going to be up to them to realize that more than anything. But they still put up a monstrous fight, an absolutely monstrous fight. 85 points in yesterday's 4 games speaks for itself, and the amount of kills they have compared to the teams below them is like 29 points ahead of XTEAM. That in itself is big impressive. So fair play to them. XTEAM taking third away from Rexpect is obviously going to be a little bit pleasing for them, but I do have to give a lot of props to Rexpect. They showed a notable amount of improvement from the group stage to the finals.
I'd have to give credit to XTEAM, Rexpect, and Defeaters. All 3 of these teams in the group stage weren't your standout teams. If you remember, the standout teams were FTY, 4 Romanian Boys, the Noisy Boys.
That's true.
Mega Power. It was those 4 teams that really we were looking forwards to coming into the finals. And, XTEAM, Rexpect, Defeaters, they went through a lot of learning pains, right? They messed up here and there on PMCO group stage. They did good enough, to qualify. And I love to see in the finals, though, that's where they really shone through. They got their stuff together and they get 3rd, 4th, and 5th respectively, which is really good finishes for any tournament.
110%. Moving on to the second page, because I could realistically speak about every single one of these teams, but I'm sure the Supremacy, our producer, wants to technically go home. I'm sure you want to have rest because I know you've been up early. So I won't, but definitely the second half of the standings, of course, so many of these teams are not going to be happy with how they perform. They know that they can do better. I know they can do better, but like you said at the start of the finals, every single one of these teams should and can hold their head high to the point that they made it to the finals of the PMCO. That is not easy.
Yeah, some of these teams during the group stage barely qualify. You remember like 13th or 12th through 16th was just a couple of points. So they made it this far, and they they put their foot down. Like, they have experience now. And at this point, you know, PMCO experience, so many players have it. Everybody's always looking towards PMPL, PMGC experience. But keep in mind, some of the players playing in this tournament, this is the first time they've signed up and they've made it this far, right? Like, when I started competing, it was 2-3 years ago. So I've had a lot of time to rack up my resume, so to say. So yeah, you got your first PMCO experience. To hold it high and proud, you know, like it's the first step to many years of competitions to come. And I'm so proud of all of these teams, all 16, all 32 teams that got to the PMCO group stage nonetheless.
Familia, really happy to see them get 2 chicken dinners today, back to back as well, shooting them up into 9th overall in standings. I'm going to be watching out for that team. Really going to be watching out for that team. Mega Power as well showed massive signs of greatness. But that's it. The PMCO EU Wildcard Finals are finished. The PMCO EU Wildcard stage is finished. Now it's up to 4 Romanian boys to prepare for their next challenge. The PMPL Europe is upon them. It's going to be starting on October the 5th. Preparation, research, timing, training, mentality, everything is going to need to be put in for them to succeed at the next level. I wish them the best of luck, as I'm sure you do. Thank you so much to everybody for tuning in, for watching, for supporting your teams, for sharing the love. Zute, it was your first time casting in the EU region. Have you got any words to say?
I feel honored to be picked to cast the EU region because I've seen some amazing things out of some of these teams. And I'm glad I got to really be in the thick of things with these teams and get a really good look. So I'm going to be keeping my eye out definitely in the future for a lot of these teams to see how well they do in their career.
Yep, to echo that, it was an honor to cast teams, all these players, and with yourself. Zute, thank you so much. Stay safe, stay awesome out there. Until next time, have a lovely evening. See you guys then.
Xiaomi.